Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are live. Coming up here on today's show, if you didn't see around the National Football League, there have been tons of NFL rule changes, and I'm going to do my best today to walk you through what those rule changes are and how it impacts the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, one of the segments that I'm going to do today, I'm not going to lie to y'all, the idea of drafting Tetairoa McMillan at number 6, it makes me a little bit nervous. I have been somebody that has said before that I might take T-Mac over Ashton Jeanty. I am no longer in that boat. I would much rather the Raiders now take Ashton Jeanty over somebody like Tetairoa McMillan, but McMillan has been widely considered the number 1 receiver in the NFL draft. And after some comments, which we're going to dive into an entire show around the Arizona wide receiver, I'm not going to lie to you. It does make me a little bit nervous taking him at number 6 where I was not nervous before. And then at the very end of today's show, I know the Raiders want to look at a running back in the draft. I would say that right now, in fact, let's play a game. Type me if you think the Raiders are going to end up drafting a running back. I would imagine 10 out of 10 fans are hoping and believe that the Silver and Black will draft a running back this season. So because of that, I'm going to give you guys some running backs that I would target round by round, right? So like round 1, who should the Raiders look at? Round 2, round 3, round 4, we're going to break it all down for you because I didn't want to just do running back rankings because then you're just going to get the top guys. I wanted to break it down by round. That's how we're going to do it. And then Sweet 16, Raiders Report, March Madness style, baby. We got 8 huge races today. We will do the Elite 8 races at some point on Thursday. Mountaintop. Oh, behind the back. Let's go. Predict it down below. Give me a yes or no. Will Geno Smith extension happen this month? Not today, not this week. It was reported by Deshaun Reed that the Raiders were close to getting one done before March 16th. Well, that obviously did not happen, and now we're sitting up here wondering if the Raiders are going to get an extension done with Geno by the NFL draft by this month. I know that Pete Carroll said that they're working on it, but at the same time, maybe if you're the Raiders, you wait until after the NFL draft to do it.
I might be taking one out of the Great Tunas playbook, RIP, but I think if it doesn't get done in the next couple months, there's going to be a couple of people trying to go to Pete Carroll's front door.
See, I almost, here's my, if you know that no matter what, you're confident in your quarterback, and if you know no matter what, that's going to be your guy, maybe you don't rush to do it. And I only say that because I want the Raiders to kind of have, we'll call it being versatile in the NFL draft. If you give Geno an extension, I think people might be thinking, all right, there's no way they're going to take a quarterback in round 1, where if you wait, then there's more of a chance that it could happen. And if your team trade back, maybe you don't decide to give Geno an extension.
I get that argument, but a small part of me, and this isn't, us having this information, or I don't know this for a fact.
Sure.
But a small part of me feels like the Raiders have been so, as Spytek would put it, robust this offseason. I feel like they've missed out on a lot of guys because they don't have those numbers for Geno just yet.
Yeah.
You don't have it set in stone. So how are you going to go out and sign a huge name free agent, spend all this money, when you don't even know how much you're paying your quarterback yet? So I think that's kind of apprehended them a little bit in free agency of not going out and making signings, not going out and doing certain things. Maybe they make the DK Metcalf trade if they already know how much they're going to have to pay Geno Smith. But since they didn't know how much they're going to have to pay him, maybe they didn't feel as comfortable doing that move. I'm not saying I know that for a fact.
Sure. I'll say this, though, and I think I'll speak on behalf of some Raider fans here. We were expecting that the Geno Smith extension was going to be done weeks ago, right? The trade happened on the 7th. It was reported that extension's probably going to get done before the 16th because that was an important day with Geno having some guarantees on his contract. But now there were, 2 weeks gone by since that deadline. And, Pete says that they're working on it, and I'm sure the Raiders are working on it. But I also know that in the NFL, when people want things to get done ASAP Rocky, deadlines make deals. Shit happens.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there is any risk, and because there is no risk, I wonder if this is something that just carries over. And they're like, all right, we'll handle it in June. We'll handle it in July. We're going to make our guys get the shit done that they need to get done right now for the NFL draft.
It's like when you're looking at the dishes piling up in the sink, and you're like, you know what, I'll just get to it this weekend.
I'd say that every time. I mean, I'm not kidding you when I say I will not touch dishes during the week, and I'll put them in the dishwasher. Alex is more of a alley-oop fan when it comes to just putting them in the dishes. I'll put them in the dishwasher.
Her and Navman would get along.
Yeah, they would get along almost too well. But like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's a dishes type of day. Let's go to Noah Suavemente. Suave, I'm not going to lie. I was talking about you today. When I walked into work, I go, Chugs, I got a DM today that said, I can't believe the Ravens traded Zay Flowers for a 2nd and an 8th round pick. I appreciated the laugh, and I knew that I was going to get a bunch of those today on April 1st. Hell, I was even thinking about posting something, which I've done in years past, like Raiders have signed Hasbulla, or the Raiders have signed, what was the girl last year that we talked about? Lizzo at defensive tackle, right? Like, we've done that stuff before. I didn't want to do that today because I knew the video that I was going to be dropping was going to be around the idea of why I don't believe the Raiders are going to trade for Tyreek Hill, and I already knew that people were going to be like, oh, April Fools, Mitch, the Raiders aren't going to trade for Tyreek. I know. That's why you got to watch the entire video. April Fools owe the entire nation. We got 500 people here in the building. Raider Muerte sending in the good vibes. Appreciate every single one of y'all for tuning in. If you want to shout out rocking with us on Tuesday, spam Raiders down below. What up, John? Move back for the right amount of high draft picks. So you're saying move back to number 10 to Chicago is at least that's how I look at this. And I'm not going to lie to you. The more and more I talk to people around the office, the more, we get some notes from NFL owners meetings, the NFL Combine, all that type of stuff, even the Pro Day here for the Big 12. 10 is kind of that sweet spot, 10, 11, 12. If you told me right now, best case scenario for the Raiders where I would want them to trade back, I'm sitting here at 10 to 12. And yeah, you might not be able to get Ashton Jeanty then, which is going to suck for a lot of people out there. But if you're looking for the Raiders to go get an extra pick in the 2nd round, like if you want them to get an extra pick in the 2nd, that's probably where you want them to trade back. And that's what I want. I want another pick in the 2nd.
And John, I have good news and bad news for you. And as always, we'll do the bad news first.
Yep.
Bad news. ESPN dropped a ESPN Plus article with their trades, and they have a trade that the Raiders possibly moving back to 10, but it's obviously behind a paywall. The good news is Mitch is going to break it down later this week because ESPN's a bunch of frauds.
I will do that video. Also, though, John, I put out a mailbag over the weekend, and one of actually the questions that we were asked was around the Chicago Bears trading up. And a lot of people think that they could actually trade up for Ashton Jeanty. But if they were a team that was, potentially to trade up, what would that look like? If you would like to know what that trade looks like in my mind, and I did it more of like spur of the moment, but that is on a video from over the weekend. It's the one with Arch Manning on the thumbnail. Let's go to my man Rebel. Chugs, Marsh wants me to give this to you. It's an L. Rockets put up a good effort. Oh, Rebel, did you see Marsh broke a record yesterday? You should hit him up and say congrats.
Well, the thing is, Rebel, actually, I'm pretty sure whenever I look at it.
How many Lakers fans do we have here? This totally random question.
It's so crazy.
I was asked to do live shows for the Lakers playoff games.
When I look at the standings, the Rockets are 2nd in the West, and it seems like the Lakers are down there. They're 4th. I'm just saying, the Lakers, they're at the 4th spot in the West. I don't care what you say,
what you say.
Skywalker, big talker, little walker, it doesn't matter. Rockets in 4.
I mean, so who are the Lakers projected to play in the playoffs? Would they be projected to play?
Projected to play Memphis right now.
Oh, okay.
So in 4 or 5, the Rockets are a better team than the Lakers, so they wouldn't play them first round. The Rockets are the 2 seed right now, and right now it would be the play-in tournament, but more than likely it would be Rockets Timberwolves, which actually scares me a little bit because the Timberwolves are really – Anthony Edwards is really good.
There's a part of me that I kind of want to go live for like a Lakers playoff series. I wouldn't do it on the Raiders channel. I would actually do it on our Lakers channel. If I could get enough of Raiders OGs to join me over on that Lakers show, I can make one of our new guys produce, and I wouldn't make you do it. That wouldn't be right.
Dude, Rockets-Lakers,
if it was Rockets-Lakers, I would say let's freaking do it. Let's run it.
Well, I was going to say we also had that thought of Rockets-Lakers 2-channel Super Chat battle.
Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun. All right, reminder to everybody that's tuned in, if you want to get your questions, comments on the show, you can use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. I do have 3 segments on tap for everybody today, and we're going to give a lot of shout-outs throughout today's show. I love being able to do these live shows. It's going to be a little bit more of a laid back today, but since we are doing multiple March Madness races for the Raiders Report today. We got to get to the Elite Eight. We're at our Sweet 16 right now. It's going to be 2 races, segment, 2 races, segment, 2 races, segment, 2 races. But I can remember I asked this question at the beginning of March Madness, and I said, what number 1 seed is going to lose first? Well, none of the number 1 seeds have lost yet, so who's going to win it all? Houston, Auburn, Florida, or Duke?
Super easy for me. I just use the same graphic and change the title.
Yeah, I know. I have Houston in the chat sports bracket. I have Florida in my family. Alex, though, she's got Duke, and she's in the lead.
It's all this. You know what this is?
Wichita State Shockers.
It's also the Cougs.
Oh, the
Houston
Cougs.
Cougs. Let's go, baby.
See, I feel like the only team on here that I really honestly don't think has a shot is Auburn.
Joey knows about those Houston Cougs.
I'll tell you what, that Houston game that I watched the other day with Tennessee, that defense was unbelievable. Yeah, Joey, I think for the first time, just flipped somebody off.
Joey said, read between the lines.
And there was no lines. No lines. What do we got? I see Duke from Robert, Duke from I Am Punchy. I mean, that team, the length, the depth that they have, Cooper Flagg has really grown up as a player, which I think has been kind of fun to watch, especially in the tournament, because they always say, like, you know, guards win in March. When you got a player like Cooper Flagg and he can kind of take over a game with how deep they already are, that's fun to watch. Houston's defense is the length that they have. Like, there's 6'9", 6'8" guys, got 7-foot wingspans. And then Florida, really solid guard play from top to bottom. I'll tell you what, this is a great Final Four, though. Who are you going with? Are you going with Houston?
I'm going with Houston. Are we doing the college basketball games this weekend, the Final Four? Do we have?
I mean, if you're asking if we're doing it, and me, probably not. As a company, I would hope that we are, but at the same time, I don't really know. I would hope our college basketball guys would step up, but I get it. We do have 530 people, though, tuned in right now, and I would say majority of the peeps tuned in are going for the Dukies. I do see J-Mo H, a.k.a. Devil J, is going to go with the Gators. A lot of good games, man. A lot of good games.
And speaking of good
games, we are going to get into our very first 2 Sweet 16 Raiders Report March Madness brackets, and we're going to start in the Las Vegas region, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I get it. It's all good. We've been doing March Madness races for the Raiders Report OGs, and we got a bunch of different races to get into today, which I'm trying to pull up the actual bracket. That way I can see it on my end. For Las Vegas today, we have Brent Wilson, who's a 16 seed, going to be going up against Philip Bogert. The winner of that matchup is going to take on the winner of Roger Braun and Francisco Ramirez. We're going to do these 2 races here in about 5 minutes. Then, in the Los Angeles region, the number 1 seed, Patrick B, is going to be taking on Ivan Perez. That one will probably be in about 30, maybe 20 to 30 minutes from now. Finesse Lounge, Ryan Campbell, still about 25 minutes to 30 minutes from now. In the Oakland region, we got Johnny B. Good up against Blaine Craig. Then, Rupert Daniel against David Rubio. I would say these are probably going to be in about an hour to 70 minutes from now. And then the Brockton region.
The most shocked region.
This is going to be... I love this region.
Heavy hitters only.
Heavy hitters only. We got LCA going up against Anthony Green, followed by Ronald Raspberry up against 93 Nabman. This is going to be like really at the very, very end of today's show. Appreciate everyone again that ended up getting in. Had over 64 people. The winner, somebody in that group of 16, is going to go home with $1,600. Absolutely electric, which means let's get in here to the very first race of the day. We got the 16 seed Brent Wilson, a.k.a. Annette, up against Philip Bogert. Phil, are you here with us right now? Once we get through these 2 races, I'm going to be breaking down the NFL rule changes that happened today and essentially how they impact the Las Vegas Raiders, because if you're like me, I'm not great when I see a whole bunch, and I'll call it NFL speak. I'll call it, almost like lawyer lingo. That's not my cup of tea. So I had to reach out to some people here, and they gave me the Cliff Notes, the dummy version. Like, for me, when I read a book, I'm proud to admit this, I didn't understand a lot of the ins and outs of YouTube. I didn't understand a lot of the ins and outs of marketing when I first got into this. So I ended up buying the books that are like, SEO for dummies, blank for dummies. And it really simplified it for me. And I don't care how dumb I look as long as I understand what the hell I'm talking about. First race.
And are we going to do a duck race here at the end of the show?
I want to save duck races for Thursdays. Yeah, I think that just saves it up a little bit. The pots get a little bit bigger. So we got the 16 seed Brent taking on the 5 seed Philip Bogert. Winner advances to the Elite Eight. You ready?
I'm ready.
Y'all ready? Philip, good luck to you. Let's get it going here. I don't know if Phil's here. I also don't know if Brent Wilson is here. But the fact that somebody's going to get to go to the Elite Eight, the fact that somebody is going to have a 1 out of 8 chance to win $1,600 is going to be absolutely electric. We're about halfway through the second quarter, and Brent Wilson, this 16 seed, man, I don't know what size shoes Cinderella's got. It looks like Cinderella's got 4 feet, though. So we're going to have to get her 4 slippers. At the end of the third quarter, Brent Wilson's got a lead, but watch out for Philip Bogert coming down the stretch. 6 seconds to go. Is Phil going to have enough in the tank? He is. Oh, big win there for Philip Bogert. Phil, welcome to the Elite Eight, my good friend. Welcome to the Elite Eight, which means coming up next here, the next race is going to be between Roger Braun and Francisco Ramirez, an 11 going up against a 15 seed. I do know Roger during I think it was NFL free agency, or I think it was one of the early days in free agency. Actually, you know what day it was? It was my birthday. Roger Braun went absolute nuclear when my dad was here and did a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans. I was like, that name is really resonating with me right now. I'm like, where do I see that face? Roger Braun. That was the birthday show. Here we go. Winner is going to take on Philip Bogert in the Elite Eight. 3, 2, 1. Let's get this thing going. Roger Braun out to an early lead. We'll see if that ends up haunting him like it did Brent Wilson. Francisco Ramirez, a 15 seed. He's been taking down some top contenders. He took down Yoda Jenkins, took down Patrick Roche, and now will he be able to take down Roger Braun? I don't know what the biggest seed to ever make it this far in the Elite Eight is, but
or like the lowest seed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. 15 has a 15 ever made it? I feel like a few years ago there was like that blue team. They made it really far.
Florida Gulf Coast.
Florida Gulf Coast, Francisco Ramirez.
Wow.
Survive and advance. Roger Braun ran a hell of a race, but that means in the Las Vegas region, competing for a spot in the Final Four, it's going to be Philip Bogert up against Francisco Ramirez, and that's going to be the very first race that we end up doing on Thursday. Thursday is going to be all of our Elite Eight races to get to the Final Four. Our Final Four races are going to end up being on Tuesday. Do we do Tuesday? We just do them all? Or like Thursday, the very end of the show, we just save up that final race? We'll see what we end up doing. I don't know what I feel like doing. The next races coming up are going to be Patrick B. Ivan Perez and then Finesse Lounge Ryan Campbell. We're going to do those, though, after the first segment here on the Raiders Report, and I just want to be able to break it up with y'all. If you are new to this channel, we are a Raiders YouTube channel. We are an interactive YouTube channel, but we do this type of stuff all the time where it's not just Raiders content. It's also the ability to get to know our awesome community here, and I think that's what makes Chat Sports different than a lot of other YouTube channels out there. I want to get to know y'all just like you guys get to know me and Chugs, and it makes the show a lot more fun.
Noah did Super Chat. Lakers, he would join.
You would join the show?
We know Noah would join. If it was the Utah Jazz, Noah would join. Noah's a real one. He doesn't care what's going on.
Seattle Supersonics up against the Houston Oilers. He's there.
I think it's about time to get into the first segment. And yep. Mitch has an amazing question to start off this very first segment.
I can't take credit for it, though.
I
can't take credit for the question.
I think a lot of people out there are going to have some interesting takes on this, so
let's I will say again, this next show that I'm about to do is a little bit different than what I typically do because there's a lot of NFL rules that are out there. Just bear with me a little bit. There's going to be some quotes. You guys know I'm not the best at reading, but I really did want to do this show because there was so many NFL rule changes that came out, and on the surface, if you're like me, I'm like reading it and I'm like, I don't really understand everything that you're telling me. So what I tried to do is just break it down, simplify it. That way you can understand all the NFL rule changes that happened today. Cool? You guys ready? First segment coming up here is going to be some stuff around the Raiders and some major NFL rule changes that impact the silver and black. Before I get into all the NFL rule changes that happened today, is the tuck rule the worst officiating call of all time? Give me a yes, give me a no. My answer, well, you already know. It's a yes, baby. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, we're going to get into some Raiders news that has been discussed over the past few weeks, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer to some of the OGs that are out there. Also, huge NFL news around some of the rule changes that happened today. I'm going to be breaking down what all these rule changes are and ultimately how it's going to impact the Las Vegas Raiders and impact all 32 NFL teams. Before we get into it, though, no Napa time here for the Silver and Black. And there was a report that the Raiders won't have training camp in Napa in 2025. I know it was expected that this is going to happen. I will admit this is still not a 100% sealed in fact, but it does sound like the Raiders are going to be hosting training camp, hosting a lot of their offseason stuff again in Henderson, Nevada, which doesn't really surprise me all that much. But I do know that a lot of Raiders fans loved when training camp was in Napa from 1996 to 2019. If you thought that, yes, the Raiders are going to have training camp there, hopefully this news doesn't, ruin your day too much. At the end of the day, though, when Raiders news happens, I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to stay in the loop. And even on a day like today where, I'll be real, not a lot of Raiders news happened today, but a lot of news around the NFL happened, and I don't know if y'all know this, but the Raiders do play in the National Football League. And coming up, I'm going to break down all of the rules that happened today. There were some rules around the tush push. We won't really get into that one. It's only going to be the rules that were officially made today, and there's a bunch of them, so just give me a little bit of time to be able to read through them, kind of talk you guys through what's important and what's not exactly important to know. So I'll explain the approved NFL rule changes for 2025, and hopefully, if you're a part of the Noti gang, you enjoyed today's episode. Let's go to the very first rule that happened. This is 1A. By competition committee, amend Rule 6 to make permanent the new form of free kick play implemented in 2024 designed to resemble a typical scrimmage play by aligning players on both teams closer to the line and restricting movement to reduce space and speed. 2, promote more returns subject to the following changes. Modifies the alignment requirements for receiving team players in the setup zone. Changes the dead ball spot after a touchback to the 35-yard line if the ball lands in the end zone and is down in the end zone by the receiving team or goes out of bounds behind the receiving team's goal line. If you were like me and you read all that and you're like, I don't even understand what any of that just meant, that's how I am exactly, and that's why I wanted to be able to make this show, because you read that and I'm kind of even more confused after I read it. So now what I'm going to do is be able to walk you through of what that means and how it impacts the Raiders. So the Raiders currently need a return man, and I do think that new rule is going to lead to more kick returns, and I almost wonder if somebody like Trey Tucker, who did it at Cincinnati, could get a bit of a boost, especially because of how weak this running back room is right now. And I think when you look at the new kickoff return rules that started last year, you saw a lot more teams go with a running back approach because it designed to be more of a running style in terms of just overall offense. Geno Smith does make this Raiders offense better. So if you're going to be starting on the 35-yard line more, it could lead to more scoring opportunities for the Raiders, and I think that you're going to see more scoring opportunities in the NFL across the board. Also, Carlson is an experienced kicker, which in this situation, I do believe helps out a lot. So the picture that you're going to see is what is known as a heat zone. And if you can see the Raiders, which the Texans are in the top left, the very, very bottom right there is the Indianapolis Colts. So essentially what you see on screen right now is the Raiders were the 6th best team at not kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone. The reason why that's important is because when you kick the ball out of the back of the end zone, NFL teams are now going to get the ball to start at the 35-yard line. So if you're somebody like me, you have an experienced kicker in Daniel Carlson, he's going to be able to put that ball where it needs to go instead of kicking it out of the back of the end zone. So I do actually think that this helps out a lot. Also, this is a pretty good tweet, which I think just kind of explains it a little bit more. This is from Kevin Seifert. With the touchback spot change, the NFL has been projecting an increase in the return rate from 33% in 2024 to between 60 and 70% in 2025. There are some downstream aspects that could come into play in terms of field position, scoring, game management when you add that many plays. If you're somebody like me where you're like, I don't know exactly what you're going to get out of Trey Tucker this upcoming season, but because Tucker has that wrestling background, because he's got great acceleration, if you were the Silver and Black with a new regime and you don't know exactly where to put Trey, I actually do think that these new rules do really help out a player like Trey Tucker. Let's go to the next rule change that happened today in the NFL. By competition committee aligns the postseason and regular season overtime rules by granting both teams an opportunity to possess the ball regardless of the outcome of the first possession, subject to a 10-minute overtime period in the regular season. The reason why I think that I like this a lot, it goes back to, you guys remember that unbelievable Chiefs-Bills playoff game a few years ago where it was just both teams going back and forth, and the Chiefs ended up winning it because they got the ball first, and then ended up scoring a touchdown. I like this rule a lot because in playoffs, both teams I do think should get the opportunity to score. I also will say that because this rule is new-ish, it does kind of go along the lines of the way that college goes. I get it, college starts at the 25, but you are seeing a regime like the Raiders that brought in a lot of college coaches. I wonder if they take that college game approach and can implement it to the NFL. We always see teams try to copycat each other, but the fact that the Raiders are a team that's going to be try to be a balanced attack, not just offense, not just defense, this team's going to be built to be a balanced team. I do think these new rules help teams that are built along that way. Let's go to another rule change that happened today by the competition committee. Amends Rule 15 to expand instant replay's ability to advise the on-field officials on specific objective aspects of a play and or to address game administration issues when clear and obvious video evidence is present. Let's face the facts. How many times have we sat up here on this show and we're like, man, that was a bad call? And I think at the end of the day, I'm the type of person where I just want him to get it right. Even if it's, a play that goes against the Raiders, me as a football fan, I want them to get the call right. So they're going to be able to review face masks, defenseless players, horse collar tackles, tripping, roughing the kicker. The one that's not on here that I'm like, shame on you, NFL, is roughing the passer, right? Because you can't watch the Kansas City Chiefs half the time because they get calls that nobody else gets. But I do think that what is happening here is the NFL is applying pressure to the NFL officials because it was a big story in the playoffs. It was a big story at the back half of last season. And Chiefs fans aren't going to admit it, but it made games a little bit difficult to watch when you knew that Kansas City was going to get calls that no other team was going to get those calls. So I like that we're moving in the right direction because I think we're moving in the right direction of let's just get the flipping call right. I don't care if it was called on the field or not. Let's just get it called right. Let's go to some more rule changes here that are going to impact the Raiders. So this one amends Article, I'm not even going to try to do that, 1716 of the Constitution and bylaws to permit clubs to designate 2 players for return at the roster reduction to 53 players. So sit down with me and let's try to walk this one through. Think about how many times the past few seasons, and Brandon Faison is the player that I want you to keep in mind when I talk about this rule, because we would get to the 53-man roster cut down days, and we would sit there and go, well, is Brandon Faison even healthy, right? Why am I going to keep a Brandon Faison on the team if I don't know if he's even going to be able to play? Because of this new rule, Raiders have placed players on IR, 53 roster cuts, and then, you see Faison, and then the next day they're like, well, now we're going to put him on the IR, and then they're going to add 2 more players. That's not going to happen. Essentially, what the Raiders and all NFL teams can do is you're going to be able to carry 55 players if 2 of those guys are going to go into the IR. So instead of saying 53-man roster cuts, you can have 55 players, and then you keep 53, and then you just designate those 2 players to go to IR, which I love that they're doing this, and they're doing it the right way, because what's not fair is the players that get cut, and then in 24 hours, then they just end up re-signing to the team. I like that rule a lot, and you're going to see this one implemented in August. Hopefully I explained that one okay. Let's go to the other rule here, which, again, this is the participating in the postseason to receive 2 additional DFRs, increasing to a maximum from 8 to 10 players. So for those that don't know, this is essentially players that aren't able to play at the end of the season. If you get put on the IR, what does DFR stand for again? Designated for return. Yeah, these are the designated for return players. So because the Raiders last season had tons of injuries, this is going to help out a team if you're in a situation like the Raiders where you just need bodies to put on the field. And you got to make the postseason first, right? But I do think teams that value depth, teams that value, we're going to try to make the best roster we possibly can from 1 to 53 instead of just overspending a ton of money on our top players and then our depth's going to stink, which, you look at the Raiders roster last season, the depth on this team was not very good, but for an organization that battled some injuries, look at the Raiders. They just hired 2 new people to their strength and conditioning staff. For teams that are battling the injury bug, this could help you out a lot. And at the end of the day, I want the best product on the field when it comes to the playoffs. This is a rule that is going to help all NFL teams do that. Let's go to another rule change that happened today. to insert point differential as the third tiebreaker for awarding contracts. So this one you got to look at for waiver claims. And right now, as it stands, waiver claims the first 3 weeks are based on the NFL draft, and then after the first 3 weeks, it's based on win-loss, right? So the Raiders were always at the top waiver team last year because they were one of the worst teams in the National Football League. So now what's essentially going to come down to is that third tiebreaker if the Raiders and Texans are both, 2-1, right? Or I guess technically like 2-3, and then the other tiebreaker, which I forget which that one is, but if it comes down to it, point differential is going to be the impacting on waiver claims. This one is probably the least important that I'm going to talk about today on the Raiders Report. Coming up next here, though, some interesting new free agency rules that, I'm not going to lie, I think that it's actually really going to help the Las Vegas Raiders, and you might not understand it at first. I didn't really understand it at first, but once I was able to break it down a little bit, I think that you guys can see, all right, yeah, these new free agency rules are going to help out the Raiders a lot. Before I get into it, though, today's show is presented by Mount Raidermore. Huge shout out to everybody that makes this show possible, from Raider Ron, David Zahn, Wild 114, Trivan, John Borelli, Patrick B, R.I.P. to the Great Tuna. What about Justin Abgen, Ira Jackson, John Scheffler, Lord Cameron Abbott, and Venthrak? And the message that these guys wanted me to get out there today, I also got to throw in 93 Nabman. He's been an absolute legend this month. They wanted me to bring some awareness to all the electricians, all the hardworking people around the country like plumbers, carpenters, the skilled trades throughout the country, because my dad also is somebody that can build anything with his hands. And I think in today's day and age, it's kind of like a profession, and all those professions are not appreciated as much as what they once were, but they are super critical in today's day and age to keep the country, to keep the world running the way that it is. So the Associated Builders and Contractors is a national construction industry trade association, which is representing more than 23,000 members. If you want to get more information, you can go to abc.org, which stands for Associated Builders and Contractors Trade Academy. It's based on the merit shop philosophy. We help our members develop people, win work, and deliver work safely, ethically, and profitably for the betterment of the communities in which they work. So if anybody lives in the Tennessee area, I know 93 Nabman is a big part of that. If anybody has any more questions regarding that, again, go to abc.org. Huge shout out to Mount Raidermore. And again, huge shout out to everybody that keeps this country running the way that it is. Let's go to the next segment here on the Raiders Report, and it's going to be some more rules that were approved today this one was put out there by the Steelers. For 1 year only, permits clubs to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective unrestricted free agents during the 2-day negotiating period, permits clubs to make travel arrangements with such players upon agreeing to terms. So the way that I essentially would break that down is, how like NFL, like with draftees, they have like top 30 visits. Imagine if you were able to do a top 5 visit with an NFL free agent, and that would also help us fans maybe understand which direction the team is trying to go in. So that's why I like it from our standpoint. But I also really like it because think about it as a recruiting trip. If you're an NFL athlete, would you want to go to a recruiting trip to Cleveland, or would you want to go to a recruiting trip to Las Vegas, right? Like, would you rather go to Las Vegas, or would you rather go to Jugs, like Houston? I think a lot more people will pick Las Vegas because it is Las Vegas, and you're going to be able to take that trip even if it's a short amount of time. I think it's also really important because if you're able to hop on a Zoom call and you're able to talk to these players and you're able to do that, and it's a little bit differently than years past where really it's just an agent involved, that also really helps out the Raiders. Why? People want to talk to Pete Carroll. People are going to want to talk to Chip Kelly. People want to talk to Tom Brady. If I'm the Raiders, I figure out every way possible to get Tom Brady on that call, because there's not a single person in the NFL that wouldn't want to pick up the phone or wouldn't want to pick up a Zoom and hop on a phone call with Tom Brady. And if you can get Brady and this regime, a very likable regime, on a phone call with some of these players to start, and then you get them out to Vegas, I think that that's actually going to lead to us getting more players down the line, especially if the Raiders are going to operate the way that they did this past offseason. Let's go to another rule here, and this is regarding K-balls, which this is to permit clubs to prepare kicking footballs, K-balls, before game day, similar to the process permitted for game footballs. As you can see, Las Vegas is one of the teams that, really wanted this rule to go in. So specifically marked footballs used for kicking plays only, like field goals, extra points, and kickoffs, they're going to have a K on them. So specifically for kickoff balls, these are going to be prepped at least 2 hours and 30 minutes before kickoff, and 6 K-balls are delivered to the game officials. So what you don't want is teams doctoring up some footballs, or there was a lot of teams in the past that used to like try to compact the ball a little bit, almost make it like a ball. That way you can send it off a little bit more. They're just trying to keep the kicking game a lot more aligned, and because I think we hear about it more in the passing game, probably because of Deflategate and Tom Brady, where it wasn't as much of a thing for kicking football. So K-balls, that's one of the new league rules. Let's go to another new league rule here. And again, shout out to all y'all for kind of going through this with me. I know it's kind of boring, but it's the only way that I was able to kind of explain what happened to all the NFL rules today. So, to permit clubs that may qualify for the postseason to obtain scouting credentials for 2 consecutive games, week 17 and 18, played by a potential postseason opponent, also requires club hosting wildcard games to provide scouting credentials to all teams within the same conference who are participating in the postseason. So let's break that down in 2 parts. The first part is, if you're in the mix for the playoffs, you can send scouts to opponents you might play against in the final 2 weeks. So if you want an example, let's say the Raiders want to send scouts to the Ravens because they're getting ready to play the Ravens in 2 weeks. Like, you're going to be able to do that. Let's also look at the second part of that quote. Wildcard home teams have to allow scouts from the other teams in the same conference to watch the wildcard game. I mean, that's kind of an interesting one, right? Like, if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, go back and look at, last year, where the Broncos, the Chargers, the Chiefs, all those teams ended up making the playoffs. You could actually go and scout those teams, which I find pretty interesting. I know this is the Raiders Report. I know there was a lot of different NFL news out there. Hopefully I did an okay job explaining how it all goes down. It's not typically what I do, but when I see something and it confuses me, and I'm a big NFL guy, like I know a lot of people watching the show, but I need the dumbed-down version in order for me to understand things. So if you like today's show, hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully you tune in to all of our Raiders Report shows the entire offseason. Would you draft Tetairoa McMillan at pick number 6? Yes or no? I got a full segment coming up here next on the show. And if you're somebody that's saying yes, you might change your answer after what I'm about to show you. I'm not saying it's a total no. I'm saying I'm a little bit more nervous around the idea of drafting McMillan at 6 compared to what I was just a week ago. Oh, about a week ago. Let's see what we got. We see a little carpet. Says hell no. No from Raider 58. Ed Robbins says yes. Jake says no. I want Jeanty. Martin Gonzalez, no. Ed Robbins, yes. Mr. Zahn says, who's that? I don't know if you're serious, Zahn. Raven says maybe. Hell no to Preston. No from Justin Olson. I mean, if you look at the live poll right now, 65% of the voters say no. 35% of the voters say yes. If you're someone where you can just turn on the tape and you can appreciate how special a player is, you're probably still going to say yes. If you're somebody that is projecting for the long haul, you might end up saying no. And I'll kind of break all that down of why I'm saying what I'm saying. Wait, Zahn, you're serious? You don't know who that is? Or you're kidding. Oh, okay. You're kidding. I was like, bro, come on, Zahn. You're better than that. You're better than that. Before we get into this next segment, reminder, we do still have 2 more March Madness races that we got to do, and I want to be able to kick those off. Anthony Perry says no. Higgins will be better in 5 years. You might not be wrong in that statement, because I know Tetairoa McMillan is good now. Like people, you can hate on McMillan all you want. McMillan is a hell of a receiver right now. But you draft a receiver at number 6 overall for the hope that he's going to be one of the NFL's best in a few years. I don't know if I get that vibe from Tetairoa McMillan anymore. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm not going to lie to you. The Los Angeles bracket, we got Patrick B. going to be going up against Ivan Perez, and then also Finesse Lounge going to be going up against Ryan Campbell. Before we get into those 2 races, I do see 2 super chats that I want to get to here on today's show. Lakers, I would join the show. I mean, we don't have really a Lakers host right now at Chat Sports. And with the NBA playoffs coming up, I was like, I don't know. I was kind of interested in the thought to just do it. Would it be fun? I wouldn't do it on this channel. I would do it on Lakers because I would want everybody to go join us over there. But I'm not kidding you. I might actually end up doing it. I don't know if I'm allowed, but I might try. I could simulcast, I guess. That could be interesting.
Raiders and Lakers.
Raiders and Lakers. All right. Hey, I might do it. I'm not going to lie to you. I might do it. Rustin Long, what's up, nation? Mitch.
Oh, wait. No, that's an old one.
Oh, that's an old one. Nabman, thanks for the promo, Mitch. LCA and Mount Raider more. I am the lead electrical instructor at ABC Trade Academy. promote the trades, infrastructure improvements are goal. We play students to companies as well. Love to the nation. I mean, Nav, if you want to send me more information on like how I can direct people to go to where you want them to go, like when I asked you earlier, what should I talk about exactly? This would have been great. If I could have used that, that would have been great. But at the end of the day, people that watch the show and enjoy the show, if you guys have something that you're passionate about, and I mean this, right? Like Panda Sups is a longtime sponsor of the show because he watched the show and was like, dude, I own a company. Would you ever, give me some love? Would you ever put it up here? I've talked about Justin Abgen's plumbing company before, right? If you have something that you're passionate about and you want to get it up here on the show.
He said he sent it to you on IG.
Ooh, boy. All right. I guess, let me see. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he did. No, I was saying the super chat you just sent in was great, but it's all good, Nab. You know I love you. All right, man, we got 700 people here in the building. We got the number 1 seed, Patrick frickin' B, y'all, going up against Ivan Perez. Winner goes to the Elite 8. You ready? Hold on. One quick little shuff. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Run it. Winner is going to be headed to the Elite 8 to take on the winner of either Finesse Lounge or Ryan Campbell. Will Mount Raider Moore's Patrick B come away with a dub, or will Ivan Perez, the 13th seed, get an upset, survive and advance? Halfway through this one, this is an Ivan Perez race. Now, Patrick B's in a good spot, though. These are always very hard to predict. At this point, it's whoever hits the NOS first. Whoever hits the NOS first, I think, is going to end up winning this race. Patrick has been slow this entire time. Ivan Perez needs to figure it out. Patrick took too long. Perez, winner. Patrick B was just floating around a little bit too much there on that one.
He was too nonchalant.
Mr. B goes down. Ivan Perez has advanced, and he's going to take on either the winner of Finesse Lounge or Ryan Campbell. That one was a huge upset. Will Mr. Campbell advance? Finesse, I'm not going to lie, I think actually Finesse has more races ran than Campbell. Campbell's just a big hitter on this channel. More experience. Does have more experience. Will end up paying off. Only time is going to tell. Ivan, congrats. One step closer to $1,600. Who is Ivan going to be taking on? Let's find out. Tip, here we go. Ryan Campbell gets out to a lead. The next races that we're going to end up doing, I have another segment to do, and then we're going to do some more of those, so we'll be able to figure out the other half of that bracket. Also, the next time that we do Elite 8 races is going to be on our Thursday live show here on the Raiders Report. Ryan Campbell right now is running a hell of a race. This is an absolute clinic, and I might have just jinxed him.
Oh, no.
I might have just jinxed him.
What did you just do?
I mean, Finesse, though, is right here in this Patrick B range. Ryan's got to jump. Is Finesse going to be able to kick it into overdrive? If not, Ryan Campbell's going to run away with this one. He did. He absolutely ran away with it. Honestly, you know what that looked like? This looks like Houston against Tennessee. I mean,
yeah.
It was a game totally dominated by Houston. Tennessee, unfortunately, just falls a little flat. Ryan Campbell, congratulations. You, sir, are going to be going up against
Ivan
Perez in the Elite 8. That's going to be electric, which means after our next segment, we're going to get into Johnny B. Good. He's going to be taking on Blaine Craig, then followed by Rupert Daniel up against David Rubio. The Oakland bracket has been all of the chaos. The Oakland bracket has been all of the chaos.
It's been absolute insanity.
Which, I mean, if you were going to say out of Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Oakland, and Brockton, which one's going to bring the most chaos? Oakland's probably going to bring
that makes sense.
It's probably going to bring the most chaos.
Makes sense.
All right, y'all. Let's get into the next segment here on today's show. Actually, I do see a few more super chats that just came in. Again, hashtag Raiders Super Chat are going to be the way you're going to get your questions, comments up here on the show. Let's go, Born a Raiders fan. Do you think Tom Brady would solidify his status as the GOAT if he wins a Super Bowl as the Raiders owner? Oh, man. The only reason why I say maybe to this is because, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes goes out and wins 7 Super Bowls, or if any quarterback goes out and wins 7 Super Bowls, they're going to value that probably way more than, Brady winning one as an owner. I will say this, though. Mahomes has got to win 7. He can't win 6 because Brady can say, I won the head-to-head. What?
Should we put the link to that in the chat?
Oh, my Lord. Well, I mean, again, it's Trace. So,
I mean, we should we go blow his
Trace is trying to say that the no call against the Saints is a bigger and worse call than the tuck rule against the Raiders. Which, I mean, again, it's a Saints fan up against a Raiders fan, and I personally think it's...
Go spam his Twitter and tell him that it's the tuck rule.
All right.
Right now, it's 96% say the no call. We gotta vote this down.
I got it. Tuck rule, and it's not close. I got it.
We gotta go spam his Twitter. Right now, like I said, right now it's 96% say it's the Saints no call.
Though I just quote tweeted it, and I think that's going to change very quickly. I think so. We'll see. I mean, Brady is the GOAT right now, and I do think it gives him a little bit of another, notch on his belt, if you will, in terms of, hey, I was able to do this because he won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beating Patrick Mahomes. And then if you're able to win one as an owner with an organization that has been, I mean, let's face it, a bit of a struggle bus over the past several years, decades, that does help out Tom Brady's legacy. There's no doubt about it. But I would say if Mahomes or any quarterback wins 7, I would say that that's more impressive than Brady winning 6 and then winning another one as an owner. What up, Chance? McMillan is like Jamarcus, but a wide receiver. Please know he's a hell of a talent, but I'm not taking that chance. Go with Mason Graham. And Mason Graham is a hell of a defensive tackle, but I don't really think that that's the way that the Raiders are going to go, where, this is going to be a team, they've already built that defensive line. Defensive line to me is the one position that I am the most confident about on that Raiders defense. I would say right now it's probably between offensive linemen. Now, don't get me wrong, Graham might be the best player available, but if you're going to go best player available, I'd almost make the argument that Ashton Jeanty is a better fit for best player available based on need than overall Mason Graham. I know what you're talking about with McMillan, and it's going to be something that I discuss coming up here in a little bit on this show. But I don't think that McMillan is Jamarcus Russell. I know what you're referring to. I'll get into this whole McMillan story if you haven't seen it or heard of it already. Let's go to Stephen Rockwell. What up, Rockwell? I like Matthew Golden better than T-Mac. I would say it depends what type of offense you're going to run. And, I could make an argument that Matthew Golden in a spread offense, running routes very similar to somebody like a JSN where you could do a bunch of different stuff with them, could be a great fit with somebody like Geno. The only problem that I would say is, can Matthew Golden win on some of these high point 50-50 balls, some of these fade routes that I know that Tetairoa McMillan would be able to do. And I think when you do a Raiders channel, you got to look at it. What gives you a better team? Does a better team involve Tetairoa McMillan, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, or is it Matthew Golden, Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers? I've had a lot of people, and this was something that, I spoke about after the Combine, where there were people that were telling us Matthew Golden is the number 1 receiver in this year's class. I'm not kidding you. Based on some conversations that we've had just in the past few weeks, McMillan could be the 3rd receiver taken in this year's draft, which it would shock me. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it could happen. All it takes is one team to like a Emeka Egbuka a little bit more. All it takes is one team maybe to like a Luther Burden a little bit more, like a Matthew Golden a little bit more. And once a receiver starts falling, look at DK Metcalf. He fell all the way to pick number 69 or something like that a few years ago. Talented players do fall when teams are unsure how much you love football. Let's go to Raider Nation for life. Thanks for the Raiders report, hat guys, and let's go Raiders. I'm glad you got it finally.
I can't remember if this was Morningstar, because Morningstar sent me this photo.
See, Raider Nation for life. I forget what show that was where he ended up winning the Raiders Sport hat, but dude went bananas. I actually think, was that the Geno Smith trade day?
Maybe.
I know he went absolutely apeshit.
Morningstar also wanted to have me tell you about his mock draft. He took Cameron Ward, and then he took Omarion Hampton and Quinshon Junkins back-to-back.
Never going to happen.
But
I would say, actually,
It does kind of lead into our running back segment a little bit.
I think Quitshaw Junkins at 70 is more unlikely. Actually, no. Cam Ward at pick 6 is probably the most unlikely out of all those. Omarion Hampton then, and then Quitshaw. I think Junkins at 70 is the most likely out of everything that you mentioned there. But I get it. You're doing the mocks. I will say this for anybody that sends me a mock like that. It's not that I don't see it. In my mind, it's just never going to happen. So, I'm kind of grading something that's never going to happen, which I appreciate when you send it to me. What do you got?
Lance Zierlein's new mock.
I'm listening.
Has the guy I've been saying that the Texans are going to take all along.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Let's go to the next one coming up here on the show, which is going to be from Drew. Thoughts on Jedrick Willis, still a free agent? Drafted very high by Cleveland. There is talent there. It's just injuries, right? Where, unfortunately for him, injuries have really, really plagued his career. And I think what also scares a lot of NFL teams out there is there are certain regimes that throughout their history, I think has done a good job being able to develop certain talent. Cleveland hasn't gotten a lot of things right. But if there has been one thing that they've done a pretty decent job with, it's at least being able to find some offensive line talent. The fact that Jedrick Willis really kind of flunked out of there, has been really banged up, that's going to be the issue for him. And if I was somebody like Wills, I would wait until after the NFL draft. Like, even if I was a player along the lines of a Keenan Allen or some of these other, guys that might not want to participate in May, might not want to do some of the stuff in June, you wait a little bit, you see until after the draft, and then when teams get desperate, that's when agents start getting phone calls around Jedrick Wills, because he is a good player. He's just had a lot of injury concerns and has been a bust. Like, let's not get it twisted. He's been a bust that's been injured. There's not a big market for that type of player. We got one more super chat coming in, and then we're going to get into the next segment on today's show around Tetairoa McMillan. Hunter Renfrow or Tyler Lockett, could we land both?
Oh, I hope not.
I don't think that you're going to end up landing both of them, and if I'm being real, it's Tyler Lockett, and it's not close, right? If you're just asking me which player is better right now and right now only, it's Lockett, and it's not close to me. And that might be an unpopular opinion for some Raiders fans out there because, Hunter Renfrow is that guy that we love and we appreciate, but Renfrow also was really bad, you know what I mean, in 2023. There was a reason why he didn't play last season. It's not, he was injured, and if he's healthy, you'll love to see it. But, I would say Renfro's probably going to come in on a 1-year, $2 million deal that can get up to $3 million. Lockett's probably going to be a 1-year, $7 million that maybe can get up to $8 or $9 million. I know that there's a huge difference there in price tag, but also just based on the style of receiver and with Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett's the better fit. And I say that also because we have salary cap. If we were a cap-struck team where we didn't have any money and money was that important, then I would say Hunter Renfrow. But because we have money to spend and because Lockett is better and he has chemistry with Geno, plus he fits more of what we need, we still need a field stretcher. I'm going to go Tyler Lockett, and I don't think it's all that close, if I'm being honest, which it sucks. I love me some Renfrow, but Lockett would make us a better team. Got a few more super chats rolling in, and again, I want to get through all these, and then we will get into the next segment here.
We just got a handful in.
That's what I mean. We just got a shit ton. Ryan, what up, Ryan?
Nav, man.
Nav first. Brady wins 7 as a player with 2 teams. That beats us in Super Bowls, but multiple rings as a Raiders part owner of all teams. I thought Brady only had 6 Super Bowls. Or am I tripping? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping in that. Because he won. Well, Belichick has what, 6? So yeah, if you could look it up for me, I don't know. I know does Brady really have 7, or does he have 6?
1, 2. He has 7.
He has 7. All right. Shout out to you, Nav.
6.
So then I would say, Mahomes has got to get to 8.
Yeah.
Mahomes got to get to 8. So Brady's got 7, 2 with teams. I get it. Multiple rings, Raiders part-time owner of all time. That is next-level GOAT status in every way, no question. I don't disagree with you. I mean, he's already the GOAT in the NFL. I don't think that people would really disagree with that statement overall. And if he wins one as a part-time owner, it's going to notch another belt. My argument is more, if it comes down to it, Brady's got 7 Super Bowl rings and then he's got, technically 8 as an owner. If Mahomes has got 8 as a quarterback, I'm going to be real. I'm going to evaluate that 8 as being more impressive than the 7 plus 1. But I hope that Mahomes never gets there. I hope that we don't have that conversation. What up, Brian? Mitch and Chugs, I tagged you on Twitter with my mock draft. Let me know what you honestly think. And Chugs, Punks, and Chug's Punk's favor is Night 2 Bang. I don't know what that is. Chug's Punk's favor is Night 2 Bang.
He said what he said.
I'm not going to disagree. I will check out.
I'm not going to disagree.
I don't know what he said. Does anybody have any idea what Ryan J here is looking at? I will look at the mock draft, though, as soon as I get done with today's live show. And if you want me to see something, I will always say, like, tagging me on Twitter, tagging me on Instagram is probably the easiest way. I don't see everything. Obviously, I get a lot of notifications, but when I have time, I will sit down and I will grade mock drafts. I've done it before. I bet there's a lot of people watching the show that have gotten a random DM from me from a mock that you've sent me, and then I get to it a month later. I mean, it happens all the time, but we'll see. Let's go to Raider J. What are your thoughts on swapping Milton for AOC? Milton would need to sit behind Geno to refine his skills, offers ability AOC can't. Plus, McDumpsterfire would love to get his boy back. I'm not like... Again, I don't view Joe Milton as ever being a starter. So if you're saying that Joe Milton is going to be able to sit and learn behind Geno to be a backup and that's all he's going to be, cool. If you're going to make Joe Milton a tush-push style of quarterback since it didn't get banned today, sure. But I think like the more important value for a backup quarterback is can he go out there and can he execute our system, and can our guys who aren't getting game time, are they also able to go out there and do the simple things? Because I think AOC is a better quarterback than Joe Milton, but I think Joe Milton is a better athlete and has much higher upside than Aiden, where, again, like if you're somebody where you're like, I want Joe Milton to be the starter, I'm not interested in that because I don't think Joe Milton has any starting ability in the NFL. If you're somebody that just wants a backup quarterback, then I would say AOC has more value at just being a backup. But if you're saying I want Milton to be a starter, then yeah, I mean, Milton's got a higher upside than Aiden O'Connell, but I'll be real. Like again, I'm not a Joe Milton fan. I think he's got a hell of an arm. I think he's a really good athlete. He showed some glimpses that were good last year for New England, but they were also in not important games, not important times. And when you watch Milton in college and like his inability to throw the football effectively, dude's got a rocket of an arm. But I would rather you do a different trade that benefits both teams a little differently. I will say this though, I could see New England doing it, because they obviously like AOC more. What up, Progressive? 4-1 is the most annoying day to be on social media. And that's coming from you. I agree, where I knew I woke up this morning, I was going to get a bunch of April Fools.
Can we get rid of April Fools?
See, I don't mind it. Like, I do think that, like...
It's so dumb.
I like the idea of being able to do that stuff, like, with, like, my kids, where... I don't know. I loved playing pranks when I was a kid. Like, I loved April Fool's Day when I was a kid because it was, to me, they were fun little pranks where I would get shoelaces and I would, I don't know, hang them in, like, the drawer so when my mom would open up a cupboard, like, the spider would swing down. Like, I would do that type of stuff. I don't think April Fool's jokes are funny when they're like this is a true story. I went to college with a kid. He called up his parents and he goes, "Oh, you guys are going to be grandparents." And then found out that his significant other was like 6 months pregnant and did not know. That's the ultimate karma. He was a freshman, ended up having a kid. But like, I don't like April Fool's Day jokes that are, I don't know, like that are like that crazy. If you want to do simple ones, cool. I think it's just everything in life. It's a tough day to be on social media though. Like I think it's for what we do, the amount of stuff that I got sent to me today of Mitch, are you going live? The Raiders traded for this guy. I think it also just goes to show, though, how much people don't read and how much people just see something and they instantly just go with it, where if you just take time and you just read for that extra 10 seconds instead of clicking share and just blindly believing everything you do on the internet, I think that would change a lot of things, too. But, hey, what do I know? All right, we got a few more. We got Lil Flapjack.
Lil Flap.
What up, Lil Flap? Lil Flap. And then we got Nabman, and then I want to get into the segment. League meetings interview with Spytek said, my son walked into our building and told Mark Davis, if my dad doesn't take Ashton Jeanty, he's doing bad. I mean, maybe he learns from that whole Giants video, which I know that one was kind of funny. I know that Ashton Jeanty is a unbelievable talent, and I know that Spytek knows it. But Spytek is also somebody that believes in building in the trenches, and he even said that yesterday, where he was like, I love my offensive linemen. Jeanty is no doubt talented, but I think people got to stop looking at what is the best thing to do in round one, and you got to start looking at what gives you the best results for the entire draft. And sometimes that's an unpopular take to have, but like if you draft Ashton Jeanty at number 1, is your entire team, is your overall draft better when you take Jeanty at 1, or is your overall draft and is your overall team better when you don't take Jeanty at 1, but you're able to take a Trevion Henderson in round 2? Like that needs to be the discussion, not who's the best player in round 1, but what gives us the best results for the best team overall. And Jeanty's talented. Like, I'm not going to be upset if the Raiders draft Jeanty. I'll be ecstatic. Navman, Trace's poll is closer. Spam the link again, Chugs. I got you. Hang on.
I'm doing it right now.
It's definitely going to get closer. I mean, what's funny is this was at 95 to 4%. It is now at 41%, the Tuck rule. Trace doesn't know this, but he says losing in the conference championship, losing in the divisional round. I don't disagree with it. I think the biggest difference, though, is the Raiders had a chance to actually.
Was that in the conference championship? Raiders?
Well, no, he's saying the Saints one was in the conference championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Raiders one
was in the divisional round.
Correct.
Okay.
However, though, I think a lot of people thought that was the year the Raiders were going to win the Super Bowl. Like, imagine if the Chiefs, like the best team in the NFL,
we're at 42%. We
got lost on that call.
We got to get it to 50-50.
It's going to get there, dude. I mean, the way that this has shifted in just the last 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to be the Tuck rule. And I can't wait. Trey's going to have a meltdown. Sorry, Triz. Sorry, my man. All right, y'all, let's get into the next segment coming up here on today's show, and it's going to be around the idea of drafting Tetairoa McMillan. I'm not going to lie, makes me a little bit nervous now. And, I am somebody where I need to be able to do homework. I need to be able to look at things. I need to be able to kind of just break everything down in my mind, get more information out there. And I had a few people ask me if I was going to make a video on McMillan, and I said I wanted to do, more homework, more research, because I didn't want to just put something out there that, could potentially impact somebody's draft stock, but it's also my job to be able to give you guys, my 2 cents and give you my honest opinion of what I think the Raiders could do. But we'll see. So once we get into this segment here, it's
Navman, click the link.
Click it. Click the link.
We're at almost 43%. We're close. We're closing in.
We'll revisit it after the McMillan segment, which I'm telling you what right now. The McMillan segment is going to be a little eye-opening for some of the people that haven't seen or heard this story yet from the Arizona wide receiver, but there's also a lot of information that I think is also going to be important, just because you can't just see something and then just go with it. You got to understand all the context and all the information, which is what I'm going to try to do my best of here on this show. So, T-Mac, do you want the Raiders to draft him at number 6 overall? Give me a yes. Give me a no. And I want those comments flowing throughout the entirety of this one, because that's what this entire show is going to be around. Do you want the Raiders to draft Arizona wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan at number 6 overall? You ready? You guys ready? Coming up here on today's show, let's talk about Tetairoa McMillan. Do you want the Raiders to draft Arizona wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan? We're going to talk about it here on today's show, because I'm not going to lie, it might be a bad idea after you watch this video. Today's show is presented by Panda Supps, and if anybody's trying to get the best workout supplements on the market, or if you're trying to wake up, take a scoop of that Super Nootropics, I promise you, it's going to wake you up just like that. Use code DRAFT. You're going to be able to save 25% off at pandasupps.com. That link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So coming up here, I'm going to be breaking down why the idea of the Las Vegas Raiders drafting Arizona wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan at number 6 makes me nervous, and it might be a bad idea. And I am doing this show because I have been somebody that has said I would want the Raiders to take McMillan at 6. I have been somebody that has says that McMillan is the number 1 wide receiver in this year's draft. I think after you watch this video, you might change your opinion on everything that I just said there. Let's go to the first reason of why taking Tetairoa McMillan at number 6 does make me a little bit nervous, and why I might be out on that idea. I don't know if you saw, but McMillan said that he doesn't watch tape. And when I hear a player that doesn't watch tape, it does. It scares the absolute shit out of me, not just because of Jamarcus Russell, But if T-Mac said that he doesn't like watching football, if he said that he doesn't like watching film, and the exact quote from him was, "I don't ever need to watch it by myself because we go over it as a receiver group." This was a video that I put out on social media last week, and it did go viral, which I'll admit, like, you see those quotes right there, player doesn't like watching football, player doesn't like watching film, doesn't feel like that he needs to do, in a sense, extra work. That scares the hell out of me. What's really important about all these interviews and about the quotes, this was from when he was a freshman at Arizona 2 years ago, okay? These are not recent comments, and when I first saw it, I was like, if these are recent comments, McMillan's draft stock is going to go drastically down, which I was like, I don't want the Raiders to draft McMillan if these are recent comments. Now that I found out that they're 2 years ago, my only point is this. I am a lot more nervous about it, and I'm not as sold on the idea of taking McMillan at number 6. So if you agree with everything that I just said, that T-Mac's comments make me not want to draft him, I want you to click that like button right now. I want a player that wants to love football, that wants to be a Raider, that wants to be the best version of himself from top to bottom. And somebody that says that they don't like football, somebody that says they don't watch film, doesn't sound like somebody that this organization is going to be a part of. And if you agree with that, I want you to hit that like button, because when I hear somebody say, "I don't like watching football," that first thing that popped in my head was, that makes me think that you don't love football. And I get that some of these guys are talented. And I get that some of these guys are just given God-given ability, and they're doing this to put food on a table, to put a roof over their head. I talked to a former Raiders player. He used to tell me that stuff all the time, that he's literally just doing it because he is a good football player. But if T-Mac said that he doesn't like watching football, and I know for a fact that the Raiders want guys that love football, and they want to go out there to build a culture, and they want to go out there and build, a team that's going to go out there and compete. When you hear the comments that Tetairoa made, it makes me think of a player that doesn't love football. And you're going to be able to get away with talent and talent alone in college. You're going to be able to get away with it at a certain point. We know that. But in the NFL, when you want to go from being a player that is good to being great, you got to put in the extra time. You got to put in the extra effort. You got to be a psycho when it comes to your craft. Hearing a player that doesn't want to do all those things makes me think that McMillan is okay being average. And he could probably be drafted number 6. He could probably not watch any film. He could probably do, nothing. And he's probably going to be a good to average wide receiver in the National Football League. Here's the problem with that. Watching film makes you a better player. And players that aren't trying to get better, I'm sorry, it's not somebody that I want to draft in round 1, let alone at pick 6. Could McMillan fall a little bit because of these comments? Sure, I get it. I will also tell you this, though. Not watching football film, not loving football equals a player that's about to be average. And I just don't want another situation where I'm sitting up here going, man, we could have had an Ashton Jeanty. Man, we could have had a Will Campbell. Man, we could have had an Armin Membu. At pick number 6, you got to take somebody that you know is a home run hit. You can't afford to miss in a first year for a regime. And for a guy that literally said himself, he doesn't like watching film. He doesn't feel like he needs to watch film. He doesn't like watching football. That makes me nervous taking a player that has that mentality, taking a player like that at number 6. I don't care what you say. It does make me nervous. So, are you terrified of Tetairoa McMillan? Would you draft him at number 6? Give me a yes, give me a no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. You're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. I am out on drafting McMillan at 6 if he still feels the exact same way regarding film and regarding football, because it's not worth the risk to me. There's other better players. If the Raiders were picking at 12, 13, 14, it might be a little bit of a different conversation. But if you were somebody like me that was sitting here going, do I want to take Jeanty? Do I want to take McMillan? Call it in the air. Heads or tails. Now, I'm looking at that tiebreaker and I'm going, sorry, McMillan, you're down here. I'm more on the Ashton Jeanty train than I am on the McMillan train. For that reason, I'm not taking McMillan at number 6. Let's go to the next reason here. He's not a great athlete. Like, McMillan is not a great athlete. He is a really good athlete. But if we're talking about an athlete at the wide receiver position compared to all the other receivers in the NFL, compared to all the other receivers in the NFL draft, he's not an elite athlete. The reason why you would take a player like him is because you look at his long build, you look at his skill set, and you go, if this guy's willing to put in the time and the effort, he could be one of the better receivers in the NFL. And again, when you're taking a player at 6, you're hoping that he ends up turning into one of the best receivers in the NFL. My fear is he's not talented enough, and then if you combine that with poor work ethic and somebody that doesn't love football, I am concerned that they stay status quo. And when your number 6 overall pick stays status quo, you don't grow as an NFL team. You don't get better. Like, his athletic limitations, he needs to be able to be in the film room. He needs to be in a gym rat. He needs to go out there and do all those special things. Because here's the other conversation part. If McMillan was a receiver in last year's draft, right? Think about this. I don't know if he goes round 1. He might have went round 2. And if all those receivers are in this year's draft, he's not the number 1 receiver. And I get it. You can't look at it like that every single time, but you have to look at McMillan up against other NFL receiving talent. And because he's not going to be best player available at 6, you take him to develop him into a star. Based on all of his comments, doesn't sound like this is a kid that wants to be a star. He's okay being average. And then the final reason here is culture fit. And for the Raiders, they want to bring players in that have that, I'm just going to say it, Max Crosby mentality. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Tetairoa McMillan looked at Max Crosby and said, I don't feel like I need to watch film because I know we're going to watch film at practice? Like, I think Max Crosby would superplex him right there and then. Like, you want your stars to set the tone. You want your star players to be the first guys there, the last one to leave. And drafting a player at 6 that doesn't love football, that isn't about the team and isn't about being the best version of himself, when you bring in a player like that on a brand new regime, that tells every other player in that draft class that that's okay. It tells every other player of what you did, that's okay. But also what would be extremely confusing about that is the Raiders this entire offseason, whether it's being free agency, whether it's draft, all they have done is they brought in good culture fits, guys that love football, and guys that want to put in the extra time and effort when other people don't do it. I understand that McMillan made those comments many, many years ago, 2 years ago. But still, dude, when you're making comments like that, I need to see a clear change in what you're doing. Because when you watch the film on McMillan, he looks like somebody who does study. But that's not somebody you take at number 6. I need a locked-in pick knowing that he's going to be a great player on and off the field. And based on McMillan's comments, it makes me nervous taking him at 6 because I don't know if he's going to be good on or off the field for Las Vegas. But coming up next here, we are going to talk about why McMillan still can be the pick at 6. I don't want to just do this show and say I'm totally out on McMillan. I'm not totally out on McMillan. I am out on McMillan at pick number 6, but that doesn't mean I'm totally out on him overall. But even that being said, we could still see the Raiders go out and try to take him at number 6. And I'm going to give you those reasons here in just a moment. Before I do, though, huge shout out to Panda Sups. Whether you're looking for any product, the protein, the pre-workout, their BCAAs, fat burner, the greens are really awesome. Alex has been loving those. If you're like me, I get bloated sometimes, especially when I eat a lot of protein, and not afraid to admit it. Sometimes the farts, they get a little bit stinky when you're trying to eat healthier. You get a scoop of the greens, kind of, gives you a flush it out a little bit, and you're feeling a lot better. The Super Nootropic is a product that I cannot express how amazing it is. If you're somebody that loves caffeine, loves a good energy drink, but you have a crash in the middle of the day, it might be because you're drinking too much caffeine. If you get a scoop of the Super Nootropic, it's going to wake you up, and it's going to wake up your mind. It's not going to just wake up your body. You're not going to get jittery. You're going to feel super locked in. So whether you're a student, whether you're working from home, whether you're, host of a Raiders report, I use this product very often, and I use it especially in free agency, especially in the NFL draft. And if anybody who's watching the show uses code DRAFT, and you go to pandasups.com, which again, that link's going to be in the comments and in the description of today's show, if by using code DRAFT at Panda Sups, not only going to get 25% off, you're going to get this gym bag, and you're going to get a shaker. He's had some different color, versions, variations of it, which, Merbad, I don't know if you're watching this one. The black and white one you got is freaking dope. Thank you for sending that to me. I think we should try to include those in a lot of these bags. They're really, really dope. Appreciate Panda Sups for sponsoring the Raiders Report. So let's get into why the Raiders could take Max Still here at pick number 6. And there's many reasons why this one could potentially happen. And the number one reason I would say is relationships are key to this regime. And I feel like every time I've talked about a player that the Raiders have gone out and draft or signed, we've sat here and gone, Well, what's the connection? What's the connection? What's the relationship out there? And T-Mac at the Combine said that he had a good relationship with the Las Vegas Raiders, and it wouldn't really surprise me considering the fact that Brennan Carroll, the son of Pete Carroll, was with the Arizona Wildcats from 2021 to 2023. McMillan was with them from 2022 to 2023. So that's 2 years with Brennan Carroll, the Raiders offensive line coach. And because they've already made a lot of those moves, that could be why. Here's also what Tetairoa McMillan told the Chat Sports team at the NFL Combine.
I've met with the Raiders, and I think Coach Carroll, I mean, obviously he a legend. There's a lot of coaches on that staff that currently came from Arizona with me. So that'll be real nice to play with Raiders. And so I'm just looking forward to my name being called in April.
In all the interviews that the Chat Sports team had with McMillan, he seemed like a very stand-up guy, very confident young man, but you can hear in his voice, he sounds like he's got a good relationship with the Raiders, and he sounds confident in that relationship with the Raiders. And just because of everything that they've done this offseason, there's still a chance that the Raiders could take him. Let's go to the next reason here. The Silver and Black need a wide receiver one. Jacoby is a really good number 2. Brock Bowers is a tight end, and damn it, could be a number 1 as well. But the Raiders have been looking for a wide receiver one all offseason. It's been reported they were, linked to the DK Metcalf trade rumors. I know the Raiders have brought in players like Hunter Renfrow here and there, but this has been a team that has not wanted to go out and spend big. So if you know that they don't want to go out and spend big, you're probably not going to get one of those big-name wide receivers that are still out there on the market. And I do wonder if Keenan Allen and if Amari Cooper, if even Tyler Lockett might be a little bit too much out of their bubble. But if T-Mac does pair well with Geno, and he does, like his skill set, his ability to go up and get 50-50 balls, his ability to run a route tree, and I get it, he's not fast, he's not great with separation, but when you're 6'4", and you have an extremely accurate quarterback in Geno, which Geno was top 4 in the NFL and balls on target past the 10-yard line and past the 20-yard line. He was number 1 in deep field efficiency. That all leads into the skill set of somebody like McMillan. Like, I know it can be a good duo. It's just there is a risk taking him at number 6. Before I get into 2 more reasons, I hope that everybody tuning in today pulls up for our live NFL draft coverage here on the Raiders Report. What you see right now is I went live for over 6 hours on day 1, over 6 hours on day 2, over 8 hours on day 3. We had over 283,000 people tune in those 3 days, almost 21 hours of live content. If you're going to be sitting around watching the NFL draft, I want you to watch the NFL draft here on the Raiders Report because you're also going to get the picks before you see them on TV. And we have a lot of fun here on this channel. I know people that are definitely going to be here, people that are a part of the Noti gang. These were the first 5 people to comment on the video that I dropped on April 1st. So to Jason, Roger, Jeff, John, and JJ, it's a lot of J's now that I'm noticing. Huge shout out to all y'all. And if you don't know what the Noti gang is, it's people that are subscribed and people that take pride in clicking that notification bell underneath this video, clicking all. That way, every time I drop a video, you're down in the comments. And if you're down in the comments first, those are the people that I consider the Noti gang. Let's go to the next reason here. The Raiders are clearly interested in McMillan, which is why they could end up drafting him at number 6. They held a visit with him at the NFL Combine, and it was him, Emeka Ibuka, the receiver from Iowa State, Jalen Newell, and then they also held a meeting with Oregon receiver Tez Johnson. So the fact that they met with him at the Combine, I don't have any information yet regarding a top 30 visit. We will wait to see. But because the Raiders have been interested in the wide receiver position and the fact they met with him at the NFL Combine and he has a relationship with Brennan Carroll, all of those reasons why the Raiders do have real interest in McMillan. This video, though, is more about doesn't make sense to take him at number 6. The final reason of why I think the Raiders could do it is, did McMillan grow up? Did he turn into more of a professional? Because I would love to be able to sit down and look at McMillan dead in the eyes and go, do you regret the comments that you made? And he looks like he was eating while the comments were, when he was asked those questions, it didn't really look like he was paying attention all that much to what the conversation was being had. But I'm telling you this right now, the only way I would ever consider taking McMillan at number 6, if he looked at me dead in the eyes and he said, I watch tape now, I love football, and it could be proved to me by his Raiders coach. Because anybody can look at me dead in the eyes and say yes and yes. Some people can lie. I'm not a good liar at all. But I need to see that he's grown up. Because he's grown up as a receiver. He's had 2 very good seasons. He's the only receiver in college football, back-to-back years, over 1,300 yards. And there's talent there. but you're not going to get to an elite player when you are somebody that has the skill set of McMillan unless you are a psycho up here and you're able to put in that extra time and the extra effort. If he's not willing to do that, I'm not willing to take him at number 6. If he can figure out a way, and his agent can figure out a way to prove to teams that he's doing all those extra things, well, then the idea of taking him at number 6 doesn't scare me nearly as much. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. Reminder, if you want to follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, I am at Mitchell Renz 365. I'm putting out a lot of extra content on those spaces as well. If you want to, send me any questions that you have, those are going to be the easiest places to end up doing it. Tetairoa McMillan, no doubt, is a talented receiver, but his comments around him not watching film and not loving football make me very nervous on taking him at number 6, which is why I'm saying it might be a bad idea for the Raiders to take him on draft night. Would you want the Raiders, who do you want the Raiders to take at number 6?
A lot of reading on today's show.
Bro, I suck at reading. We already know. This show actually, Raiders Report. How do we even get there? I'm surprised we even get that one right half the time.
Let me know down in the comment section.
The Readers Report.
Do you still want to draft T-Mac? Do you still want to draft McMillan at 6? Or is there somebody else? I know a lot of people are on the Jeanty train. I see a couple Mimbus. I see Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. Abdul Carter. I'm sorry, that's probably not going to happen. Three people who I can almost promise you won't be there at 6. Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter.
Agreed. I agree. And, again, like Abdul.
Everybody else, you could give me a reason why or why not they could fall down to 6. Those are the only 3 where I'm almost positive because if any of those 3 guys slip to 4, I feel like the Patriots are taking them.
Or there's going to be multiple teams trying to probably move up for one of those guys. Yeah. I would say the only way that any of those dudes fall to the Raiders at 6 is if they put out a Laramie Tunsil photo with a quote that says, "I don't like watching football film." And I think even that, people would be like, I don't know, I think I might still take him.
Hunter can play both ways.
Hunter can play both ways. Who do you want the Raiders to pick at number 6? Let's see what we got here. I see Steven Shotgun.
A lot of Mason Grahams.
Going to go Jeanty. King's Ace says Jeanty.
And see, that would be true BPA because the Raiders do not need another defensive lineman, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, if they went Mason Graham, I think actually you could make an argument if they went true BPA, the 3 players that they would consider, if they're going true best player available, Ashton Jeanty, Mason Graham,
Armin Mimbu, probably.
What about Tyler Warren?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you asked a lot of NFL draft experts out there, I think a lot of people would have Warren ranked in that class of, best player available.
Dude,
it's just the Raiders don't really need him.
The Raiders' offense would be insane if they took Tyler Warren at 6.
So you and I were joking, talking about it, and I put out a video that came out yesterday about some surprising picks that the Raiders maybe could make at pick number 6. But, imagine an offense where you're going, you know what? We couldn't get another receiver. We're just going to make Brock Bowers a full-time receiver. We're going to make Jacoby Myers another receiver. You're going to make Tyler Warren the tight end 1, and then you're just going to keep Michael Mayer as the tight end 2. It's kind of an interesting thought process, which when you see how much money tight ends get paid compared to wide receivers, I almost wonder if there is going to be a time where some of these teams take a tight end like Bowers, make him a receiver, and just pay him like a tight end. I don't know. We could see it. What up, U.S. Marine? What's the best way to get 2 round 1 picks in the future?
What's the best way to get round 1 pick? Trade?
I know what he means.
You'd have to trade back.
Yeah, you got to trade back. And when I say you got to...
Or trade Max Crosby.
No. That would help. Trade a Max, you'd get a pick, but you were not going to trade Max. I would say you got to go from 6 and you got to get down past 12. Then you might be able to get a first-round pick, but then you're not going to get a second.
Let me ask you this. Besides Crosby, is there any other player on the Raiders that you think you could trade and get a first-round pick back?
If Wilkins is healthy, you're probably not going to get one for him at defensive tackle. Jacoby, I love him. You ain't going to get him. Colton at left tackle is great, but if Laramie Tunsil's not going to go for a 1, I don't think Colton Miller's going to go for a 1. Yeah. Bowers probably would. And I actually bet you there would be a team that would offer a first-round pick for Brock Bowers. At what pick? I'm not taking pick 32 for Bowers.
Yeah.
You better offer me a legit Like if the Bears were like, we'll offer you pick 10 for Bowers. I don't even think I would do that. You know what I mean? Like I think he's going to go down. He has the chance to go down as the greatest tight end of all time. And I don't think that's that crazy of a statement to make. Like there is a chance that he goes down as being the greatest tight end of all time. Like that's not a player you trade away. Here's the question. Would you rather trade Max or Brock Bowers right now? You get Bowers for the next 3 years on a rookie deal, though he could be a player that they end up giving him a new contract after 3 years.
Yeah. I'd rather just keep both.
I agree. Nav, T-Mac does not fit the vibe of what we have done this offseason. Outside acquisitions are hard workers and bangers on prove-it deals. Chips on shoulders.
Chips on shoulder. I forgot what NFL player it was, but he literally has a tattoo of a Lay's potato chip right here.
Oh, really? Yeah, Fidel, things change, man. Things change. And I wanted the Raiders to tank for a better draft pick. If anything, I wanted the Raiders to tank for Cam Ward.
Yeah, I was about to say, Fidel, if you've been watching the show, actually, you would know that he wanted Cam Ward since last offseason.
I mean, imagine if we'd be sitting here right now with the number 1 pick. I don't think the Geno Smith trade happens. I think you have the Cam Ward. I mean, I think like that's what it would look like. But the Raiders ran into a few worthless wins, and now we're picking at number 6, which in all honesty, I don't mind now seeing the way that the draft is gone. I still would rather have Cam Ward over Geno Smith, but the fact that we have Geno, a quarterback that gives us a legit chance to win football games, I'm okay with where the Raiders are at right now. What up, Anthony? Everyone is a bust until otherwise. Said it last year, and Bowers, JPJ, prove me wrong. Just win, baby.
This is like the opposite of innocent until proven guilty.
Anthony's like, I'm guilty.
This is like as soon as you're arrested, like guilty. You got to prove your innocence.
Yeah, I killed those 4 people.
We have a picture of you wearing a blue shirt last Tuesday.
Yeah, I stabbed those 3 people. You and Dookie Shoes.
Do you or do you not know Dookie Shoes?
Dude, Tom Segura, that's my guy. If I found out Segura was a Raiders fan, I don't know if I think that might go to my new number 1. The Guy Fieri, I actually think Guy Fieri is the number 1 person I would want to meet.
Dude, take him to Flavortown. Dude,
Guy, figure it out.
Would you rather?
I'm listening.
Would you rather spend a full day at like a Raiders practice training camp, like with everybody, like through the team meetings, through everything, like a whole practice day with the Raiders, whatever position group you wanted, or spend a whole day with Guy Fieri?
Oh man, I feel like I should say the Raiders part of it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I've talked to a lot of those guys already. I mean, Guy, dude,
Flavortown.
Bro, Guy is. Here's the thing. Guy is one of the most famous. He's probably one of the most famous Raiders fans out there, but he's also one of the most famous just people.
Also,
I love food too.
Thinking of that too, could you imagine if you picked the Raiders and you go into like a team meeting and they're just chewing people out and you're just in the corner, just like.
I mean, I also think like, what would be a more memorable experience? And I hate to admit it, like I think hanging out with Guy Fieri for an entire day, going through Flavortown is
through Flavortown.
Bro, I think that's a more memorable experience.
He's just like, you know what, Mitch? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you want, we're making it.
See, like, again, I used to work for the Jets in college, so what you described is kind of what I did. So one of my old jobs I did for the Jets was I had to follow a player. His name is Chris Ivory. He was a running back. Not going to tell you. No. Stop. I can't tell you that story. One of my other random stories that I have for Chris Ivory was some fan had a yarmulke, literally like whipped a yarmulke down from like 5 rows. Ivory snags it, signs it, and tried to throw it back. Did not work. They ended up handing it to the guy. But I was always around the running backs, and I was also around the wide receivers a ton. That was the year they had Eric Decker. What's interesting, though, about that whole Jets experience was Geno Smith was on that team. Geno Smith and Michael Vick were the 2 quarterbacks on that team. And that was also the year Chris Johnson was there. And to be real, like, again, when I was there, it was in the summertime. So I was there May, June, and July. It wasn't all that exciting. I also remember doing push-ups because every time the Jets would get a flag, Woody Johnson would make everybody in the entire facility do push-ups.
Like even you.
He even did them. Like if the Jets had like a 10-yard penalty, he would make everybody drop down and do push-ups. I don't know if he still does it, but I can remember being like, all right, shit, if that guy's doing it and he owns the team, everybody needs to drop down and do
Mitch,
them.
you're definitely going to Flavortown. Don't lie to yourself.
I mean, again, like, it's not a disrespect to any of those Raiders players, but, you know, I mean, in my mind, the Raiders player that I'm probably the coolest with is Max, and he's the only guy that I would say is comparable to, you know, Guy Fieri in terms of hanging out. Like, if you told me I could hang out with, like, Max all day in Las Vegas, that would be really dope. But at the same time, I love Max. He ain't Guy Fieri. Like, Guy Fieri. And I think there's also if
you're watching this guy.
I mean, I'm always surprised on how many Raiders fans that I know a lot of y'all are like Dame. I know Dame watches the show. Shout out to Dame. George Lopez watches the show. Shout out to Lopez, which that's the one that Alex always gets crazy about. But yeah, I don't know how we got here. If this regime wants guys who love football, T-Mac ain't it. And that's just based on, again, those comments that he made were comments that he made 2 years ago, which a lot of things can change, right? And I hope that he's grown up. Because when you watch his film, and when I say film, like some of his stuff, you could tell he does prepare. He is smart. But at the exact same time, I agree. Like, those comments do not make me feel like somebody that loves football. What up, Ed? Trade back to 18, get a second and a third, take offensive lineman, round wide receiver, quarterback in the third. I guess I would want more than that, though. For you to go 6 all the way back to 18, if you're only able to secure a second and a third round pick, quite frankly, I think you got fleeced. 6 all the way back to 18, I want more than just a second and a third. I would want a little bit more on top of that. I would actually want either like a second and like a third and then a second next year. You could throw something like that into the equation, but I do think that this regime is really going to try to stack up this season. But when you look at a lot of the things that they did this offseason, like, you're going to get an extra 4th, an extra 5th, and an extra 6th round pick next season because of the comp formula, losing out on Trevon Merrick, Robert Spillane, and I forget who the other player was that ends up being in that comp scenario. But, like, I wouldn't be shocked also if the Raiders, which this is another reason why I know people are frustrated with how this season is gone, the offseason is gone. A lot of the moves the Raiders are making and have made, even from like a coaching standpoint, Max Crosby standpoint, is they're prepping for 2026, 2027 to be their big year. And I think you're kind of seeing them ramp up for it. What up, Jersey boy? Jeanty, Emeka, Savania, hey, a man can dream, can he? That would be incredible. I mean, if you told me right now that happened, I actually think that you probably had to trade back up in round 1 to get Emeka Ibuka because he's not going to fall to 37. And I only say that because there are a handful of teams around like the 20 to 24 mark that all need receivers. So if you're the Raiders, I actually did an entire video on like trade ideas. I have a trade in there around what it would take to get up to 19 to go out and get Emeka Ibuka. But Savania, the offensive lineman from Arizona, obviously got a lot of Carroll ties as well. If we started this, I would be really fired up about that. What up, my man Noah? George Lopez is the GOAT. Definitely one of the GOATs, man. Nav, this NFL running backs must catch. Wait, this NFL RBs must catch. How many catches Jeanty have his entire college career? Of his 130 touches in only 3 years mileage, how many catches? I don't have the answer to that, but the way that I would respond to that, Chugs, if you want to give it out, that's fine. The way that I respond to that, though, is if you don't have to do something, like, why force the hand that feeds you? Where I don't know the Boise State offense all that well. And I'm not going to act like I do, but they probably thought that just putting the ball in the gut of Ashton Jeanty made a lot more sense. But here's the thing. Go back and watch Alvin Kamara at Tennessee. He didn't really catch the football. Go watch Josh Jacobs at Alabama. He was the second running back. Like, I don't think that we can say this guy didn't do it in college, therefore he's not going to be able to do it in the NFL. I hear you loud and clear of, like, I'm somebody that likes the idea of Trevion Henderson at 37 because he can catch the football like a wide receiver. He can pass protect. Both of those qualities he has better than Ashton Jeanty. But Jeanty is I don't want to use generational talent. He's clearly, though, the best running back in this year's class.
He's actually, if you look at his entire career.
He did a lot more catching of the football his junior year. Junior or the year before last season. He had 5 receiving touchdowns in 2023. Where he was used a little bit more. I want to say he had like 40 catches that year, 5 touchdowns. I know we broke it down. Yeah, so in 2023, he had 43 grabs for 569 yards and 5 touchdowns, right? Like that is, if he were to put up those numbers this season, we wouldn't be having the conversations that we're having. It's just when you watched Boise State this season, I think that they would just realize, shit, we have a lot higher success rate putting the ball in his gut. Because what are the average yards per game, like as a running back? Yards. Like, I don't know what his yards per carry was, but if you're averaging 6 yards per catch or 7 yards per carry,
so
like that math alone just says, let's run the football.
7 yards a carry last year.
You know, and again, like I hear you, and my point is Ashton Jeanty is talented enough, but he's not only just talented, he is an extremely hard worker, and he's humble. Like, when you have the Heisman ceremony, and again, when you have a player that shows up at the Heisman ceremony and they're rocking all their Boise State stuff, he's rocking his team gear. Like, that is I like that type of stuff, where in today's day and age, you got the other players, they're rocking Louis Vuitton, they're doing all this stuff, which, again, to each their own. But when you hear people talk about Jeanty, he's got the talent. He's got the work ethic. I know he hasn't maybe showed it to the way that you want to see it on tape, but based on some of the conversations just over his pro day, he can catch the football, right? He can catch the football. To me, it's not so much like the Jeanty conversation at 6, actually for me has nothing to do with Jeanty. It has everything to do with how deep the running back class is and the Raiders' offensive line. If you told me the Raiders' offensive line was a top 10 unit, I'd be up here saying, let's go get Jeanty. Like, it's just, to me, it's not a top 10 unit, which makes me a little bit nervous. Before we get into the final segment on today's show, we do have 2 more races that we got to do out of the Oakland region, and we got Blaine Craig going to be going up against Johnny frickin' Be Good. Winner's going to advance to the Elite 8. Here we go. Mr. Blaine Craig has got a little bit of a lead right now. Is he going to be able to hang on to that one up against Mr. Be Good? The Oakland region has been nothing but chaos. Johnny is the 9 seed. Blaine is the 4 seed.
Johnny also beat Raider Ron last round.
That's true. I mean, if you're able to take down the legend of Raider Ron, you're able to take down anybody.
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be who...
Somebody needs to hit on the gas. Blaine, you're falling behind. It's going to be Johnny Be Good. And he is a good boy. Johnny Be Good, are you here in the building? Which means the 9 seed, Mr. Good, is either going to take on Rupert Daniel or David Rubio.
Rubio.
Which means, Johnny, you are now have a 1 out of 8 chance to win $1,600. Who you got, Rupert Daniel or David Rubio? Type R for Rupert, type D for David. We are in this Sweet 16. We're getting down there to the Elite 8. We got this race, 1 segment, and then I have a whole nother duck race to go, which the next segment is going to be all around running backs. So if y'all want to talk running backs, that's what we're going to be talking about. Trace, dos, uno, almost. Rubio, Daniel. Rubio has been watching the show a lot more recently. Rupert Daniel is also an OG. He's got a different name on YouTube. His YouTube name, I believe, is not the same as what it is on Venmo. Rabin says 10 on Rubio. Come on, man. Rafael Murillo, what's up, my dude? We got 12 seconds to go. This is going to be really, really close, man. Darren, it is rigged. Rubio! He has the distance.
Rubio.
So that means the 9th seed, Johnny Be Good, is going to be taking on David Rubio in the Elite 8. Winner will be going to the Final 4, which means we got 1 more segment, and then we're going to be headed over to the Brockton region, which has got 2 just unbelievable matchups today. We got Lord Cameron Abbott up against Anthony Green, and then Ronald Raspberry against 93 Nav, man.
I love because
I love this.
Nav and Ron are like friends.
Yep.
So a little friendly rivalry.
I hope there's a lot
today.
of shit talking that goes down. I know this. If I'd win, I'd be shit talking.
It's like Navman wins. It's like, why can't he comment anymore?
I didn't even think of that. Ron's like, delete. That would actually be hilarious. All right, y'all. Let's go to the next segment here on the show. which I know the Raiders are going to be looking at some running backs, and I think we are all anticipating them to draft a running back this upcoming year. So because of that, I wanted to break down just where I saw some potential running back targets round by round. I didn't want to do an overall ranking just because, again, like the Raiders, to me, there's certain backs that I think they're going to have their eye on, and there's going to be certain situations where certain running backs are going to go off the board. You just got to be prepared of where certain guys could go in certain rounds. So coming up here, it's basically like 12, 13 different running backs that I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on, and why I like these players, why I think they'd be a good fit with the Raiders, and why I would target them in each round. But that's going to be the next show coming up here on today's show. And then after we get into that, Brockton region, 2 races, and then we're going to get a GTFO out of here. Chugs, give me the thumbs up, which means it's time to get this one rocking and rolling. Coming up, let's talk about some of the running backs that the Raiders could pick in this year's draft. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Panda Sups. Use code DRAFT for 25% off at pandasups.com to get your hands on some of the best workout supplements on the market. Today here on the show, I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite running back targets for the silver and black in the 2025 NFL Draft, and all of the options are going to be broken down by round. I'm going to start in round 1. I'm going to go to round 2. I'm going to work my way all the way through each round, and I'm going to tell you which running backs I like and which rounds I would target those backs in. Overall, I'll probably do an in-depth look at somewhere between 12 to 13 different running backs this upcoming season. But when you look at the Raiders' running back room, I think it's very clear. We need running back depth. Raheem Mostert was signed to a one-year, $2.1 million deal. Sincere McCormick is good, but he's also been injured the following 2 seasons. Zamir White stinks. Dylan Laube wasn't drafted by this regime. Also, I think he kind of stinks. L.J. Collier and then Isaiah Spiller, also very unproven young players. So to me, I am confident when I sit up here and I say the Las Vegas Raiders are going to draft a running back this upcoming season. And if you want to be tuned in with us when we go live for the NFL Draft, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. We will be live for the entire draft. I'm talking 20-plus hours those 3 days. We're probably going to get close to 200, 300. I want to try to get to 500,000 people tuned in over those 3 days. So if you're a Raiders fan and you're ready to rock and roll with the silver and black, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're watching this channel right here. So let's first get into the running backs that I would say the Raiders could target in round 1 at pick number 6. Here's the thing. There is only one running back that the Las Vegas Raiders would even consider going out and bringing in, and I say that because we know that it's Ashton Jeanty. And Jeanty is a back that the Raiders looked at. They brought him in for a top 30 visit. They had an NFL Combine visit with him, but he's a compact runner, incredible strength. He does everything that you look for in a every single down running back. Does he need to get better in the pass game? Yes, he does. Does he need to get better as a pass protector? Yes, he does. But if you are a believer in he's going to put in the time and the effort and he's going to put in the work, then I think that he's also going to be able to do that because he was a running back that had 43 catches, over 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns just last season. He can do it. He's talented enough. Another running back that's going to go in round 1 that I wanted to at least talk about on the show because you're not going to take Omarion Hampton at number 6. He's also not going to be there at pick number 37. The reason why I'm going to bring him up is because if you're the Raiders and you do trade back and you trade back to the later teens, maybe the early 20s, Omarion Hampton could be an option at that point. Let's go to round 2 now for the Raiders, and I got 3 running backs that I would say I would be okay with if Las Vegas took these players in round 2. The number 1 running back I would want the Raiders to take in round 2 is Trevion Henderson from Ohio State. And I say that because he's already worked in the Chip Kelly system. He's got legit breakaway speed, and he, isn't afraid to finish a run with power, which I do think is really important. He's dynamic in the passing game, and he can also pass block. When you have a receiver that can catch the football, that can pass protect, and offers you all that stuff and has the Chip Kelly relationship, that's obviously somebody that's going to be on their radar. Another running back that's going to be on their radar is Quinshawn Junkins, who was the Thunder to Henderson's Lightning at Ohio State. Met with the Raiders at the NFL Combine. Powerful runner who I think is really great on some of his inside runs, and that's going to be the style that the Raiders are going to go this year with Chip. decent as a pass protector and catching the football, but you're bringing in Quinshon Judkins to really be a thumper on first and second down. Let's go to another running back here. It's Caleb Johnson from Iowa. He is one of the best outside zone runners in this class, and if the Raiders want to kind of go with that outside zone running scheme that Chip Kelly has done in years past, Johnson could be an interesting player because he's extremely patient, but when he sees a hole open up, dude's exploding through that hole giggity. His lateral agility and speed, it's lacking a little bit, but when you think about the combination of a player like him who's going to pick up chunk yards of 4 or 5, he's going to pick up positive yardage, and you're going to feel him for 4 quarters. Then when you switch it up with somebody like Raheem Mostert who's got legit home run ability, I'm just saying, I could see this one being an interesting overall duo for the Las Vegas Raiders. So far, I have broken down the running backs that I am okay with the Raiders taking in round 1 and in round 2. The names that I have provided, those are the names. And I think most people probably are looking at those names. But if you're Las Vegas, you might have to consider taking running backs round 3 and later because of how deep this running back draft class is. Let's go now to round 3, pick number 68, and these are the running backs that I would consider in this range for Pete Carroll and John Spytek. The first name I'm going to bring up here is Dylan Sampson, and because his patience and vision, it's spectacular. And it does actually remind me a little bit of Alvin Kamara, and I don't want to just say that because of the Tennessee connection, but what makes Kamara great at the next level is he was able to learn, he was able to study, and you can tell he's got that one-cut jump and like getting north and south. That is really, really popular running style right now for a lot of really good NFL teams. His pass pro, it's okay. But he did show some growth, and even though he wasn't used that much in the passing game, Alvin Kamara really wasn't used all that much in the passing game when he was there for the Tennessee Volunteers. If you like a good player, stick with him and just look at him as the player that he is. With this coaching staff, I think that you could get a lot out of Dylan Sampson. Let's go to another running back here that I watched some tape over the weekend, and I talked to my guy Tom Down, and you guys know I really value Tom's overall thought process, and I said, Tom, tell me which games to watch. Tell me why I should love Cam Scatterbo as much as you do. And he said, great short area burst with power to break tackles, offers ability to catch the football and has some swagger, does lack that breakaway speed. He's not the shiftiest runner, but he told me, do you like Kyren Williams? And I said, yeah, I love Kyren Williams. And he said, that's kind of the running style that I think Cam Scatterbo, if he wants to last in the NFL, is almost got to turn into. Somebody that's not going to light it up at the NFL Combine, but when you watch them on film and when you study that player, it's somebody that brings confidence. It's somebody that brings swagger. And confidence, swagger, that's all great culture fits. Somebody that's going to put in the time and the effort. Scatterbo in round 3, I am okay with. I admit I like Sampson more, but I'm starting to come around a little bit more on that idea because I do think if you have a smart offensive mind, which is what, Sean McVay has done a great job of with Kyren, if you got a smart offensive mind and use Scatterbo in the right way, he can be a dynamic player, which we do finally have a good play caller in Chip Kelly. Here's going to be, though, the pinned comment on today's show. If you want to tell me which running back you want to go with, hey, bonus points, brownie points, however you want to say it, extra credit. But which round do you think that the Raiders end up taking a running back? You're about to get it with a YouTube ad break. My answer is coming up here in just a moment. I am going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to say that if I was a betting man, I would say the Raiders end up taking a running back in round 1 or round 2 or in round 3. But I say that because it's Jeanty at number 6, and he's probably the pick that I would say is the most likely could end up happening, not named Will Campbell and Armin Membu at number 6. But then also in the second round, the Raiders at the Combine met with only 3 running backs, Ashton Jeanty, Trevin Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. 2 guys played Ohio State. One's the best running back in the class. All 3 of those guys are going to go before round 4. That I can promise you, which is why I think the Raiders end up taking a running back on one of those days. So now, let's go to round 4 here because pick 108. This is where some of the depth, kind of gets a little bit interesting at the overall NFL draft perspective. One running back that I'm starting to like a little bit more, I just don't know if he's going to be there at round 4. I like Damian Martinez, and this is not a show me saying I think Martinez is going to go in round 4. This is me saying if I was the Raiders, this is where I would target him in round 4 if he's available. He has experienced both gap and zone running schemes, which I think it does help out this Raiders team quite a bit. He also has similar size and testing to Marshawn Lynch. We know Pete Carroll loves him some Marshawn Lynch, and again, I really value Tom's opinion on some of these running backs, and even though he wasn't used in the passing game, doesn't have legit home run speed, but when you see the style of runner he is, I can see the Marshawn comparisons, I'm going to run through your mother effing face over and over and over again. And if you want that style of running back, somebody that's going to be a tough mother effer between the tackles, I do think that combines really well with somebody like Raheem Mostert, which, let's bring me to my next running back here. It's Jordan James out of Oregon. I might be a little bit higher on James than some other people out there, but I'm also higher on James because I am the host of the Raiders Report, and I think Jordan James would be a good fit in a Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly style of system because he is that bowling ball who loves to lower his pads, and he loves to just be a thumper up the middle. Does not have much home run speed, but if you're looking for somebody that moves the sticks, right, where if it's 3rd down and 1, you're going to run right behind him with JPJ. You're going to be able to move the sticks. And some of that Marshawn Lynch type of determination in his runs, you see it in Jordan James, just like you see it in, Damian Martinez. And if I'm going to take a running back in round 4, I want somebody that, I can rely on. And I can rely on them not to put the ball on the ground, can pick up positive yardage, and might not ever hit that home run. But if he's picking up 4.5 yards per carry, that's good enough for Geno Smith to win some solid football games. Let's go to round 5 now. The Raiders got pick 143 here for this one. In round 5, there's some good backs, I'm not going to lie. And when you see just the overall talent, it's why I'm okay with the Raiders. If they don't get a Jeanty, you can pick up somebody a little bit later on. Hell, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility the Raiders draft 2 running backs in this year's class. First guy I'm going to go with here is Bashal Tutton, who had the fastest 40 time. I believe it was 4.28 at the NFL Combine. And he is a big play producer, and he's got some really impressive athletic gifts. Like, you can't deny how special of a talent this young man is. 4.4 yards after the catch this year. For a running back, it's elite. Plus 62 forced missed tackles. He had 69 in 2023. His biggest thing is fumbles. And one of the reasons why I don't know if the Raiders will look at him is because, let's face it, when a running back, especially a rookie, puts the ball on the ground, you lose confidence in them very quickly. 10 times that happened over the past 2 years, and he's not great in pass protection. But if you're able to bring in somebody who has legit home run speed and have him learn behind Raheem Mostert for a year, because I do think that their style of runs are very similar, you still need a number 1 running back, but Tutton could be a very interesting option. Another very interesting option, this is Chugs literally just said, this is my guy, Ollie Gordon II. He did have a huge workload at Oklahoma State for the Cowboys, but with that skill set that he has, you better be able to have a offensive line that's ready to be a physical blocking team because Ollie Gordon wants to run through your face. He is a physical downhill runner. He doesn't offer much wiggle at this point, doesn't offer, I think, much, short area of elusiveness. He's going to be somebody that just tries to run down your throat. But one of the reasons why I do like Ollie Gordon in round 5 is he is a average pass pro right now. And I say that he's average in college because he's a little bit bigger. I would hope that he would still have the exact same confidence and want to be a pass protector in the NFL compared to somebody, in college. But he was regarded as one of the best running backs in college football. Hell, I think if he would have came out in the 2024 NFL draft, I don't think he would have saw round 3. I was going to say, Chuck just said he was a 98 in the video game, but there were people that had him going round 1. There were people that had him going round 2. Unfortunately for him, he's coming out in a very deep class, and he was much better in 2023 than he was in the year 2024. So for that reason, I have Ollie Gordon here in round 5. Before I get into round 6 and in round 7, because I do have some other running backs that I want to talk about here, here's the bottom line. I love Panda Sups. You guys probably been hearing a lot about them over the past few weeks because they're a loyal sponsor, and if you're a Raiders fan that wants to be able to support your own, then use code DRAFT for 25% off at pandasups.com. If you want to know which products are some of the best sellers right now, here's some of the best sellers up on screen. Their pre-workout, their protein, though every time they drop a new protein, it's always one of their best sellers, and I say that because if you've ever bought protein from Panda Sups, and I know that there's some people that watch this show, I actually don't think people understand how flippin' good it really is. And every time they drop a new flavor, I've actually made this comparison before. It's almost like the new iPhone, where there's going to be people that go out and they buy it because it is the new iPhone. If you're a Panda Sups lover, every time they drop a protein, I have to try it because I love all their other proteins. It's also, I'm a big texture person, and they have real freeze-dried blueberries in this one. They'll have real freeze-dried pineapple, strawberry. Dude, it's insane what they do. It's such a good protein that you almost can't even believe it's actually good for you. If you also, though, need a product that I will stand 10 toes on, it's their Super Nootropic. It's a focus blend. It really helps you stay concentrated on whatever you're doing, whether it's schoolwork, whether you're a gamer, whether it's just your average 9 to 5, whether you're for the host of the Raiders Report. Go to pandasups.com, use code DRAFT for 25% off. And if you spend over $100 and you live in the United States for domestic shipping, you will get a bag and a shaker for free when you spend over $100. But when you see all the Panda stuff they have, spend $100, not going to be too difficult. Let's go to round 6. We got 3 picks here, 180, 213, and 215. If I'm going to be at this point in the draft, I'm looking for people that I rely on in the passing game and people that I know that can protect Geno Smith or offer me a little bit extra in special teams. The first guy I'm going to bring up here is Taj Brooks. And for those of you that follow me on social media, I've mentioned Brooks before because you guys know how much I like Trevion Henderson. Taj Brooks is the Dollar General version of what Henderson's able to bring. He's got a huge workload over the past 2 seasons, 633 touches with the Red Raiders. He is great as a pass protector, and he is a great receiving back. If you're looking for a Amir Abdullah style of replacement, I think that this could be an interesting one. His vision, it's not good. It's very inconsistent where there are some games you're like, this guy's incredible because he's finding all the right running lanes and he's got the momentum going. Then there's other games where he's just like running into the back of his lineman and looks like somebody that's not going to get drafted in the NFL. He is a little bit smaller, 5'9", 214. But at this point in the draft, I want somebody that when they're out there on the field, I know that they're going to be able to provide value. And Brooks will be able to provide value on any NFL team that he goes to. Quite frankly, if you're a Raiders player or if you're a Raiders fan, you don't want Taj Brooks to go to the Chiefs because he's the type of player that they would use him really, really well. And for the Raiders, I would want them to use him the way that, teams have used a guy like Dion Lewis in the past with Tom Brady. How the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season, used somebody a little bit like a Bucky Irving. You could use him in the right system. You just got to make sure you use him the right way. Let's go to another running back that I would target in round 6. I haven't talked about him too much. It's going to be LaQuint Allen. The difference is Brooks is somebody I target at 180. LaQuint Allen is somebody I'm going to target at that 213, 215 turn. He is a former wide receiver. He's kind of built a little bit funny. Kind of reminds me like when you're out there looking at him, if anybody remembers the name David Montgomery, where you're like, kind of looks like a wide receiver playing running back. It's kind of what LaQuint Allen looks like as well. He is, though, you can see it, big hands, hangs onto the football, good pass catcher as well, can catch with his hands, not just his body. But he also offers you special teams ability on both sides of the football. So sometimes Syracuse last season would use him in the kick return game, going out and trying to get tackles. They would also use him as a kick returner. If you watch the video that I did live on Tuesday with some of these new NFL rules that are being thrown out there, especially with the kick return game being not such a big difference, but a little bit of a difference maker, I do think LaQuint Allen in that regard could help out a team. And again, if you're drafting somebody in the 6th round in the 200s, I don't need you to just be a running back. I need you to give me some special teams value as well, which puts us then at the final round here, pick number 222. I only have one running back in round 7 that I'm going to throw out and target because at this point, and I always say it, there's no such thing as a bad pick in round 7. If you told me that any player you go out there gives me some special teams value, cool, awesome. But I also need to have somebody that gives me some reliability. And Woody Marks, Jaquavius Marks, however you want to call him, running back from USC, does have some solid vision when running between the tackles, does not have that top-end speed, but I know he's going to try to pick up 3 to 4 yards when he's doing his thing north and south. Does have solid hands. Plenty of experience in the passing game, which you like to see, and only 1 fumble and 608 carries. You just can't afford to have a rookie put the ball on the ground because when it happens, they instantly lose their confidence. Think of Dylan Laube last season, and they don't turn into the running back that you're hoping. They turn into, a guy that you're like, all right, this guy stinks right now. And I like what I saw in limited play at times from Marks. Some people probably think that he's going to go before this. I'm looking at it more, though, again, where I would take him if I was the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is a back that I would look at in round 7. I'll also admit, because of this video, I wanted to be able to talk about a running back in every single one of these rounds. So because of that, Woody Marks would be my round 7 target. If you made it this far in the video, shit, man, we got to be doing something right. And if you like what we're doing now, I think you're going to love what we do on draft day. What you see right now is how many people tuned in on each day. This is how many hours we were live. 6 hours and 9 minutes, 6 hours and 23 minutes, 8 hours and 15 minutes for a total of almost 21 hours over 3 days. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, if you're a draft fan and you want to see picks before you see them on TV, and if you want to do a few beer bongs from time to time, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. Nobody's going to have as much fun as the Raiders Report does on draft day. It's time to get into the Brockton region. Let's go, man.
Rock. We
got
today.
Lord Cameron Abbott, who, by the way, was the MVP of the month of March. Shout out to Cam. I got something really special coming for you, my man. And then the winner of LCA against Anthony Green is going to take on, I think it's the game of the day, Ron Raspberry against 93 Navman.
Which I was going to get to the Super Chats after.
Yep.
But I think we kind of have to before because Navman sent in this.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to sniff Raspberry's ass just before the race, Jugs. Throw him off his game. I think if Carter or Membu not there, trade back.
I don't know which part of the Super Chat I like more.
I almost feel like if you made him sniff your ass, that would throw him off more. I mean, that man's taking this doggy dog
I don't
thing.
know, dude. If you were about to race me or race somebody and they just came up and sniffed your ass.
All right. You've obviously seen White Lotus. Would you rather be...
Nope. Mitch!
What players you think should have not come out maybe like you? That's hilarious. Are you saying like which players do I think should have stayed in college another year?
Yes.
Oh, man. Honestly, the first one that comes to my head is Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn would have been smart to – he would not have been able to stay at Texas, but if Quinn would have stayed in college another year and tried to go somewhere else with NIL deals, somebody would have offered him a bag, and if I was Quinn, I would have stayed in college. That's the very first name.
I just wonder with Quinn, is next year the quarterback class, I feel like, is going to be better.
I don't totally disagree with that, but at the exact same...
People are talking about him as like a second, third, fourth round pick in this year's class because there's not really any quarterbacks.
I just think Quinn has talent. He just needs so much more development. But I guess like you could look at it, if you can't get developed by Steve Sarkisian on Texas, when is it going to happen?
Here we go.
If I was Quinn, I'd try to go back to Ohio State. Anthony Green, Lord Cameron Abbott. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. This is going to be absolutely iconic. Good luck to Green.
Is LCA with us?
Good luck to LCA. I don't know if Cameron's here today.
Also, if you thought those scenes were weird and bad,
yeah,
just wait until you get to season 3, brother.
Oh, really?
It's insane.
I can't wait.
It's absolutely nuts.
I like shenanigans. I'm not going to lie.
They shenanigan.
Yikes. Lord Cameron Abbott has got the lead right now, but Anthony Green is closing in fast. Somebody's got to make a move. I think it's going to be Green. It looks like it is. What an upset. Anthony Green.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That means either Navman or Ron Raspberry will take on.
All right.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Anthony Green might have the most duck race experience. And you're seeing it. It's carrying him.
Get your votes in.
Green's here. Oh, yeah.
Get your votes in.
Anthony.
Type R for Ronald Raspberry. Type N for Navman. Who do you think's going to win? R for Raspberry, N for Navman.
This one's going to be iconic. Anthony, how do you feel? You have a 1 in 8 chance to win $1,600. Bro, that's iconic. A 1 out of 6 chance, 1 out of 8 chance to win $1,600. It's pretty dope. I'm seeing a lot of 93s coming in right now. I think Ron's deleting all the others. No, is Ron here?
He was here like a minute ago.
I just hope it's close. I just hope it's close. Ron Raspberry, 93 Navman.
Ron's here.
Uh-oh. Good luck to you, Ron.
3,
2, 1. Here we go. All right, winner is going to be taking on Anthony Green to get to the Elite Eight.
And, of course, it's neck and neck.
Oh, you know it, dude. I'll tell you this. There's not a doubt. No, I almost wondered. Do you think Navman did actually sniff?
Ron's butt? Maybe.
I mean, there's probably some scratching going on. I don't know how much sniffing's been going on.
Navman has a little bit of a lead. We've seen it here where sometimes it's a bad thing and sometimes they continue the lead forward.
Somebody's got to hit the NOS. Whoever makes the first move always wins. It's going to be Ron. Is it going to be? Oh! Navman! What an unbelievable comeback.
Wow.
I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon.
I thought it was for sure about to be Raspberry.
I spoke too soon. Navman, honestly, Ron started running like this with the deuces. And then Nav just throwing up the birds as he ran by.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Darren, told y'all, rigged. Darren, you got to keep that bit going. There's just certain bits that I love, and it's every single time. You got to keep it going, dude. What an unbelievable race, man. What an unbelievable race. Navman ends up getting the win, which means that's from last year. Yeah. Which actually, that's kind of crazy. So last year's Elite Eight was Zon, Amy, Jose Corona, Justin Gilbert, Troy Williams, Miggy Camacho, Lori Sandoval, and James Guevara. That was the last year's Elite Eight? Interesting. Though I thought it was Jose Corona against Zon in the championship, but I could be wrong.
I think this is, I don't know why it's messed up right now. But
all right,
we'll get it fixed.
So how can we go through it?
I mean, I have it right here. It's Philip Bogart versus Francisco Ramirez.
Okay.
Ivan Perez versus Ryan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny B. Good versus David Rubio. Anthony Green versus 93 Navman.
So we are going to do those 4 races on Thursday, and then that's going to get us to our Final Four.
Yeah. And
that'll get us to our Final Four.
Technically, I could just, I don't know
why it's doing that either. So, again, we always try different graphics from time to time, and from my screen, like I see what's live, and then over here on the left is like what's about to come on screen, and it's just showing me basically from last season the duck races. Dude, that was an iconic race, Nav.
Yeah.
Ron, I'm sorry, bro.
Oh.
That was Taino. Ron's just got too much dick. It's dragging him down. That's an outlandish comment. All right, y'all. Chugs and I are going to hop on out of here. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Though I think we got all the Super Chats, right?
Uh-huh.
All right, we got to all the Super Chats. So the next time you're going to see me and Jeremy Chugs is going to be on Thursday. It is going to be a happy hour show because we have off on Friday as a company. We're in prep for the NFL draft, if you will. So we're going to be off on Friday, which means I'm down to get down on Thursday. And if you're down to get down, make sure you're sub. Make sure you got those notifications turned on. And make sure you guys are ready for 4 elite races to get us to the Final Four. From Chugs, from me, peace out.